evening, everybody. Thank you very much coming back again tonight. Can everybody just first and foremost let us know if the audio is working okay? Because of the other night we had that wee echo happening with the fucking software. So if everyone could just let me know if it's coming through and all that sort of crack. Shout out to everyone in the chat, being Regios, being Maya, being Christopher, Ger, Michael, everybody who's here. My mother's in the chat and stuff. Thank you all for coming. Sounds good. Thank you very much, Savage. The topic of tonight sort of was a development coming from meeting Cade. Everyone can see Cade. Say hey. And I've met Cade through doing little rounds in different communities and stuff like that. And we had a wonderful conversation the other day about fatherhood and stuff like that. And we were talking about family. And then I went and watched Cade's channel. Seems to be something he's passionate about. So I thought we'd have a conversation on that. We have a few other people coming in, hopefully a wee bit later on, from different points of view and different stages in parenting, or maybe not parents, and different family sort of groups and stuff. So it should be interesting. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Cade. Cade is Clay. If you would like to give an introduction to yourself and let everyone know where you are, your link is in the description as well.
Sure. So I'm just a normal. I'm a father, a husband. Well, I'm an ex-husband, but I'm just an average American. I would say a traditional American guy, grew up in the 80s as far as my teenage years, and it was a completely different world, and the traditions and mindset that I was raised with have completely, I would say, within the last 15 years, dramatically, in my opinion, have been just turned on their head. And I've always been buried in work and business, so it's just like I've lifted my head up from, working like a maniac, and then gone through what I've gone through, married my high school sweetheart. I'm 52. The typical story, it's nothing unique. Was very take charge, and, we moved 17 times around the country, and I was chasing my dreams, what I wanted to do back then, and she loved it. That's exactly right. And she followed. And then we ended up with 6 kids, 5 daughters and a son. And my son, he currently works with me. I work with him. I help him out. And that's pretty much his thing that he's got set up, and funding and all that good stuff. And so basically, I just went through the typical modern divorce that you see happen all over the place, where I went from, and I see where I messed up, which is what I love educating, other young men and men my age going through it. We just don't understand that we're taught from childhood, from Disney movies, from TV, to chase these girls and give them, all their demands, and just be a nice guy, and all this silliness, which is it's very feminine. It's not masculine, and it ends up subterfuging the entire family when left alone. And so I basically gave into that. And so after jumping through endless hoops, you name it, and with a Christian community, supporting her, and then watching all of this, and then after it's all said and done, they don't like you anymore. They lose respect for you, and that's what happened. So without getting into all kinds of details, that's pretty much where my passion. So as a result of those mistakes that I made, most of them because of a lack of knowledge and understanding and just believing what's set in front of me, I've ended up at this point. We'll see what happens. I believe in destiny and God, and I trust him. I don't believe there's much you can do except your best with what you're given, and I feel I've certainly done that. And but right now I'm left with 5 daughters that believe crazy things about me. 2 of them are too little, but they're prevented, from even speaking to me on the phone. And I won't go into it, but I mean, everything from rape to you name it is thrown out there, which 35% of custody cases, interesting fact, are rife with false abuse allegations. 35%.
That an American statistic?
Yeah, that's one from here. It might cover somewhere else, but I believe it's primarily the United States. But saying that, not that there isn't real abuse, and it's a shame the way things are set up in the States, because it takes away the belief and the benefits and the money from people that are really abused and need help. So it's not a good thing the way things are set up. But anyways, I was left with older daughters, didn't invite me to the wedding. Crazy things when her whole life, it's daddy going to walk her down the aisle. So I went from this husband that was, leading this family. We had just opened up a business. My son and I had gone into it halfer as a brick and mortar, and about 4 years of that was it. I was working 15-hour days, 7 days a week, and that wasn't right either. So I've learned a lot of things there as well. But yeah, that's kind of my story, and it's still kind of going on. It's 4 years in right now, and my son and I are like, two peas in a pot. When he was once the star witness, the star, he was the whole reason for all of this, but he ended up telling Mom, no, man, you sucked me into things and dramatized, and it's not right what happened. But,
well, from a social standpoint, as you say, you've got $4 now. That I'm sure that's an awful lot of shotgun bullets at boyfriends. $5, awful lot of ex-boyfriends and stuff to deal with and things like that there. But how would you see? Would you have something that would jump out at you that you could put your finger on that you would say is leading, as you would refer to, the youth in the wrong sort of direction or away from the idea of a traditional family? Is there something you could put your finger on that would lead it in that direction?
Yeah, it would. I would say that the mechanism would be social media is the primary driver. And then the belief that it's fostered is that somehow masculinity is broken or it's toxic. What about toxic femininity? We don't hear that.
The idea of saying toxic
people.
Well, the idea of saying toxic, I could say, Michael was toxic on Saturday night. It doesn't mean that Michael is a toxic person.
Right.
It just means that particular thing, that particular time is toxic. So saying that there's toxic masculinity means that particular part of masculinity can be toxic. It doesn't necessarily mean that being a man is toxic. I'm a big, strong man. I like to go grr and lift and, do you even lift, bro? And all that, There's incidences where we're all manly men, but at the same time, it's okay to cry at a movie. It's okay to, go and buy tampons for your wife or something like that. Hi, Nick.
I wouldn't.
Hey there.
I wouldn't do that, though.
Can I
wouldn't
ask
do that
some
stuff.
clarifying questions?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm a philosophy teacher by trade, so a lot of terms being tossed out. I'd like to get some clarity on what exactly we mean by them. So you keep saying things like toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, and I want to be careful to kind of separate our discussion about this from your personal life. I know things like that can get a little intense, and I don't want to pry too much into that. But what do you understand when you say things like toxic femininity, toxic masculinity? Like, what exactly are we talking about here?
Are you asking me or are you asking Cade or?
Oh, Cade. So,
You're asking me?
Yeah.
What? Well, I don't even believe it exists. I believe there's toxic actions and toxic behaviors, and those can come from males and females. It can come from dogs and pigs and everything else. And I think toxic masculinity, to apologize for that obvious talking point that has been used to bend an otherwise good opinion of a dad or of a brother or of a coworker or anything under such silliness, is I don't see any need to apologize for saying that's a silly thing, a silly phrase, toxic masculinity. So I would ask, what is it? What do people, specifics are great to ask for. What do they mean by toxic? I would like to know. I don't see any need to even have a phrase such as that.
If I can, are you asking Michael that directly?
No, I'm saying, since I don't know what in the hell it is, I'm with Michael. I would love some specifics too. especially from anyone that is apologizing for it or making an excuse.
Well, we could be very vague and just say, like, the idea of locker room talk. I went to my Christmas do last year, and it took a wee bit of persuading to get me to go to my Christmas do this year again, because I'm sitting at a table with a lot of young lads, they're in their 20s and stuff like that there, but they're just, in my opinion and the way I was raised, denigrating women. And, the things that they were saying.
Like
I would not say on my stream.
Well, I mean, you could refer to it without saying it, but things like what?
Okay, I'd eat the corn out of that lady's shit. I won't touch her because she's a snobby bitch. How do you know she's a snobby bitch? Look at the way she's dressed. Things like this, to me, is not nice. Like, I've told them if I go back this year, I want to be on the table with the old men that are married, and because I have respect for women. I wouldn't. Like, you can find a woman attractive and you can say a woman's attractive, but saying a statement like that in front of a group of lads and stuff you're not going to gain anything bad except notoriety amongst other men who think this is okay. That's an example of what I would consider to be toxic masculinity.
Well, wait a second. What if this was a mixed sport and there was a girl in there that identified as a man and she was saying the same shit? So is that group now that has two females in there, can you say they're all experiencing toxic masculinity? I would say that's a group of degenerate young men that need fathers in their lives, or some young man standing there saying,
a lot of them have fathers in their lives.
That's disrespectful.
A lot of them have fathers in their lives, and a lot of them are ex-military.
But again, there's no reason
to be corrected. You're saying
it's
it
behavior.
Needs to be corrected, which I think.
Yeah, it's behavior.
Okay, but if there's some behaviors that are toxic that are seen more in women than you'd find in men, and if there are some toxic behaviors that you would find more in men than you would find in women, then is it not acceptable to categorize the ones that are common to men as toxic masculinity? That there is a cause doesn't change the fact that it's happening, and that there's a cure also does not change the fact that it's happening. And I would use actually a different example. For some reason, when it comes to homosexuality, women don't kill lesbians. Men have a tendency to, when you take a look at homosexuals who are murdered, it's usually gays murdered by men. Why? Because there is a male reaction that is much more common in men. Men see it as a threat, yada yada, for whatever reason. But it's men that are usually going around doing those behaviors, not women. And while I think women are every bit as capable of as much toxicity as men, I think there is a narrative that they aren't, and I think that's utter horseshit. It doesn't mean that there aren't certain toxic behaviors that you find much more commonly in one gender versus the other, and I don't think there's any harm in saying identifying it that way. I also don't think there's any harm in ignoring those identifications, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Can I clarify my question, I guess, that I was asking Cade? Sorry.
Sure.
It seemed from your opening statement, and I could have completely misread that and misunderstood it, in which case that's on me. But it seemed that you were taking issue with feminism proper. And I was just asking you.
What do you mean by proper?
Feminism as a philosophical, cultural movement, maybe.
But I mean, I've heard there's first wave, second wave, this wave, that. I mean, what do you mean by feminism that I would have an issue with?
That's what I'm asking you, because I don't know exactly what you made this distinction about traditional fatherhood, or maybe that was MathPig that made it, in which case, again, that's my bad. But you made this distinction to say that what you believe is somehow different and or distinct from what is being portrayed nowadays. I'm just asking you to tell us exactly what you think about these things.
Well, I think when I grew up, I remember the first day I experienced the whole term latch kid, a latchkey kid. I had no idea, what the hell are you talking about? And because that's what he said, my mom and dad got a divorce, so no one was home. We walked home and there was no one in the house. And I'm like, where's your mom? Where's your dad? This is, 3:34, 5 o'clock. So it's you can't even argue that it's best for a society and for children to grow up in a family where you have a masculine role being demonstrated and a feminine role together because they complement each other. So all I'm saying is, yeah, we can say that toxic, we could fit toxic in, but why would you as a man in a culture where you clearly see there is an outright attack against men? They're attacked for just being born, and not by all women, not by all organizations, but it makes a lot of money. They spend a lot of money. It makes a lot of money in the legal system. They get 66.6% match on all of the child support payments. That is a big part of their paychecks, and they're sitting up there ruling. You know, I mean, there's so many things that are obvious. There is no reason to use the word toxic and the word masculinity when there's no reason to say that. This is why we do not have the term floating around toxic femininity, because we've chosen not to say that. You don't need to say that to describe a bunch of degenerate females in a locker room talking disgusting things about the 40 guys that you know they just slept with this year. Those are just toxic individuals. I wouldn't even use the word toxic. Like I said, it's been hijacked. It's a talking point.
Do you think feminism is toxic?
I do think after watching the results of it, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea.
So you would agree that one could employ the term toxic feminism?
That's an ideology. Yeah, I think that's a poisonous ideology. I sure do.
Thank you for joining, Mighty.
I don't think it serves civilization and societies well. I don't like that empires, you know, that women are highly in charge of degenerating and falling empires such as Egypt. And you can go down the list. It's just kind of a common thing that starts happening.
There's a lot to unpack there, and I don't want to dominate this conversation.
Go for it, Michael, and then we'll get Marty's opinion.
Go ahead. I'm just talking freely.
Sure. There's about 5 different things. I think 5 different separate issues that we can identify in that what you just said. I mean, I'm glad we have Chris here, who's a psychologist that could shed some light on this. But you made some claims about the nature and structure of family.
Right.
I would like to unpack that a little bit to see what sort of evidence you have. Also about the Egypt thing, I teach history. I'm curious to what that meant specifically. You think feminism was responsible for the downfall of Egypt?
No, I think that when you start taking a creature that is different than another creature and really, really great at certain roles and really, really dangerous in other roles, and you start allowing for that and living like that or having that leading a society. I mean, men have to build all this stuff. You know, we have to create the society before they can even take advantage of this. It's our fault, you know, because we can manipulate the elements. We can grab a log and a rock, and it's proven that, you know, there was I forget the Grail something. He's a wilderness guy, but where he took, you know, a group of women and a group of men. They couldn't even film it. They couldn't finish it because the women could not even manipulate the environment to survive. So when you take something natural like that, where women are naturally weaker physically, they're more dependent on men by nature, and you turn that on its head and you start rewarding women for not just being the same, but now you start giving them extraordinary privileges, you know, in all facets of that society. Yeah, look what happens. Look what's happening here in America. Look at our marriage rate.
I would argue World War II conclusively demonstrated that women can, in fact, do the jobs of a man, despite the fact I would also agree that there are biological differences. Any study that found that women couldn't even split logs or whatever, or couldn't function, is laughably absurd. And again, World War II is the best example. Rosie the Riveter, and I'd be willing to entertain arguments that there are differences and that those differences certainly express themselves.
Why
but
is
for
it
the most
not,
part,
not biological?
Hold on, Michael needed to clarify.
Yeah.
Nick started, then Bree.
Go ahead.
Hold
Just
it all
give
in.
me like
people.
5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and then because I want to ask some some things here because I'm curious about this. So it sounds like what you're suggesting, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but let's use ancient Egypt as an example of this. Are you suggesting that you seem to be suggesting that female Egyptian pharaohs were not good rulers? Is that correct?
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that in politics, like for instance, a lot of people think it's really awesome that women have the right to vote. I would say that's not so awesome for women, because the reason they didn't get the right to vote is because they didn't own property. They weren't, they weren't producing or working and not involved in going to war and suffering the consequences, for political decisions. They didn't want to. You see, they didn't want to do that. I'm just saying that you can look at all empires, and when it starts to get degenerate, it's because that empire has lost its focus, or not its focus, it's lost its mark on the roles of women and the roles of men.
Would a historical counter example make you change your mind about that point?
Regarding, what do you mean a historical calendar? Help me out.
A counter example. So if I were to provide you historical evidence in which a society had a female ruler, empowered women in the sense of owning property, opened up women in allowing them to take on certain jobs.
I'm not saying that's never
greatly
happened.
Benefited the society itself.
Is that what you see in our world today? I'm not talking about an exception. There's exceptions. I'm talking, and for a short period of time, but I'm talking overall, men are running these corporations called countries and governments,
Right.
and corporations. Why?
So, well,
Why?
I mean, so you brought up Egypt. That's the only reason why I'm harping on it. Because it's curious. Because I mean, it's not a mystery that for most of human history, governments and societies have been dominated by male rulers. There are some exceptions, and the prime exceptions that we see of that come from ancient Egypt. And what's curious to me about you bringing that up is that some of the most successful rulers in ancient Egyptian history were actually female, right? I'm specifically thinking of Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh.
Yeah, I'm not a history major. I'm just saying overall, if you're looking out there and you're using, we can make exceptions and say, I'm not talking about individual leaders and all of that did great things. I'm talking about when a society starts bending the way the Western culture has started or has been. It's not good. You don't see the society and you don't see the empire flourishing at that point. Then you start getting introduced. Well, transgender starts coming in.
No examples
a big emphasis on homosexuality. When it otherwise wasn't. And then you start seeing lots and lots.
Everybody's over talking everybody now. Everybody's over talking everybody now, and everybody's over talking everybody now. I would like to give.
She can go next. She's the first one that started the.
Yes, I'd like to. Bree has started a point, so I'd like Bree to finish, and then after she's done, if we can move over to Marty, because Marty has come in and has been very quiet, and I would like to hear Marty's opinion.
I was actually asking. I wasn't asking for examples of the things that arise in these cultures, but the culture of cultures where femininity has taken hold.
You're very quiet, Bree.
Yeah, your mic is super low.
Okay, let me fix that. I just didn't want to echo. I was causing echo in a stream I was in earlier. How about now? Do I sound better?
Yep.
All right. So I was asking for examples of societies and where femininity took hold in the culture and that caused the society's downfall. I want examples of that, I guess. Not examples of what you think took hold in the societies that caused that, but what these societies were. I know you said you're not a history major, but if you're going to cite that as an example of what you're talking about, and how femininity can destroy a society, I'd like to know some societies.
You mean not feminine? I love femininity. I don't care for feminism.
Well,
and I get that. Where feminism has destroyed societies, then we'll use that word. It is really what I'm saying is where masculinity was supplanted with a softer, more feminine side, and then it destroyed the society. Where is that taking place at?
Well, here, how about here? Since feminism has arrived in America and taken root, do you think this country and this culture and its state of being is better off?
I think that right now that it's objectively, and when I say objectively, I mean to us as a species, as humans, that right now is probably the best and most prosperous time to be alive as a member of the human species. Yes, I think that's objectively true for humanity.
Thank you.
How come most of the American women today are their unhappiest ever then?
That's a different question.
Can I answer? He's asking me. So I don't think that it's actually that they're more unhappy now. I think that now that there is the medical options available
Well, they
for
survey
these. I know.
unhappy.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing that the survey shows that. I don't think that people had the option to get diagnosed in previous decades. I think that that's why I see more people. It's not that there are more people with mental illness today. It's that there's treatment and diagnoses for mental illness today that there weren't back then. So now all of a sudden we have everybody with autism. Oh no, there's always been these people. They just didn't have a diagnosis before. They were just someone who was a little bit odd or whatever. Maybe somebody that got stuck into a madhouse. But now we have diagnoses for these things, and we're able to integrate them. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe they weren't told about Santa Claus ever.
Okay. Now we're going to diverge off topics with Santa Claus and all that. Mouty, I would like to hear Mouty's opinion. He has been quiet and he was wasn't going to come in, did come in, didn't come in, did come in, then did come in. So I'd like to hear Mouty's opinion.
Good evening.
The floor is yours, previous great leader.
Everybody's sins have been forgiven. You're all absolved. So, I think that confirmation bias is a hell of a drug. Having unfortunately have been through 2 divorces myself, I know the subjective experience of having gone through a divorce. Mine were different than yours. Mine didn't involve kids. I cannot make the comparison a truly analogous one, other than knowing how bad my divorces were bad. Confirmation bias is this idea that for ideas that we already have, beliefs we already have, it seems easier to access information that already demonstrates that to be true.
Sure.
And then the flip side of that coin is the disconfirmation bias, which is the things that we actively don't believe to be true. We're also very quick to access information that validates our disconfirmations. So, I'm not interested in arguing the details of the things that you say, because it just seems you're hurt, right? And that your view of things is filtered through a lens of pain.
Wait a second. Seems that way, and this is very dramatic. You're right. Who is not hurt? I mean, who is not?
I appreciate your vulnerability.
Absolutely. So absolutely,
that.
I understand that. Everyone in this room is hurt some way, and they're not sharing a lot.
Let's not
We're not
normalize.
sharing.
Hold on. Let's not normalize pain to think that everybody's justified in seeing through this lens that you have.
That's right. But let's not infer with these very educated sounding phrases and tones and cadence that I'm somehow, and you can do that from the rest of the show. I'm going to depend on you to correct every time I, don't emphasize something correctly. But there's no sense in inferring that I'm that way. Why don't you just say, "Hey, man, did you do any work and get over?" Of course, there's hurt in a divorce. Absolutely,
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it can affect an opinion. It affects all of our opinions. All I'm saying is, before we get down in these psychological excuses and making, I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to a bunch of men, looking at what's happening in our Western culture that are making excuses for the word toxic, attaching that to masculinity. You guys should be
that's not what's happening right now.
No,
that's okay.
not
But
what's
let me
happening right
finish. I'm just saying in general, guys, what is the solution? Do you guys like the way it's turning out for your daughters? Do you like the way the family?
Yes.
I'm talking in general.
Yes.
And when I say your daughters,
Yes.
So like the way everything's turning out.
Explaining in very succinct terms what you deem the problem to be. Like, make it a bumper sticker. The problem with today is
there's too many. There's too many.
But then
attached.
if it explains everything, it explains nothing. If you want us to help you, work with you, bunch of dudes and
Bree.
female.
I didn't ask for your help. I don't know who you are yet. I don't, just because you're a dude, I'd have to figure out, you know, if I
A
want your
moment ago,
help.
I'm talking about things that you said a moment ago. You said, I can't believe that I'm in a room with guys and you're talking about this.
I can't
Hey, let's
believe
talk
it.
about something else, right?
I can't believe
And
it.
you brought
I
up
didn't say
that we should be thinking about what the solutions are to a potential problem.
Well,
I'm
is there
with
a
you.
problem?
You
It doesn't-
chose. You
It doesn't
tell
seem
me.
you all see a problem.
That's
He's
we're
asking you just to give him a real
I
small.
don't see the problem. I
to-
don't.
define what the problem is.
Well,
Just lay it out. Bring it up as a topic of discussion.
it would
Don't
freak.
lay out these bizarre, vague questions like, "Don't you see a problem?" No, you're in a room of reasonable people that don't happen to see the thing that you see. Lay it out in a reasonable way.
Okay, it should. If you didn't know, it should bother you that they're already tracking. It should bother after you hear this. That so our daughters out there are being told. Here's something that just drives me crazy. It's not the primary thing. It's a result of it. Is that it's best to go out and seek a career first, and then focus on finding a husband. And what's happening is they're denying the natural order of things, how things work. They're going along with the Disneyland narrative. They're going along with the social media narrative, everything that makes a lot of money for a certain group of people. But what's happening is they're finding themselves with a degree and no man, because the very men that they're after, that they won't settle for because of social media's constant affirmation. You know, every woman has a whole hip pocket full of all the affirmation she ever needs now. If she needs any girlfriend to tell her she's right, it's right here. If she needs any guy, any orbiting guy to say, you look beautiful, you look
Can I
great.
respond?
they
Let him
have it
finish.
right
Let him
there.
finish. But succinctly finish it up.
Yeah. So my point is, all of this is leading to beliefs like, yeah, girl, go to school. You go, girl. And then they end up falling into a terrible stat that by 2030, I think it's Merrill Lynch, I forget what investment firm, they showed the stats and said if a girl's not married and by the year 2030 at the age of 30, in general, she will not be married. That's just the way everything's tracking. That's frightening.
So I just want to, before Bree, and I want to throw to you right after this. This is a very quick point. We are in agreement that there is a subset of the population that are falling victim to everything that you're saying right now. I think
A
that
large
the more
subset.
sophisticated,
A large subset. It's
the
Kid, I asked everybody else to
sophisticated-
be quiet while you
Brother,
spoke.
Come on, man.
yeah.
You get uninterrupted minutes to talk, and you can't
Go
let
ahead.
me speak
Go
for
ahead.
thank
Yes, I can.
While we agree that is happening to a subset of the population, I think the burden of proof is on you to demonstrate that it is anything bigger than a small subset of the population. Just because you've seen more of it, that can be explained psychologically as well. That's familiarity bias. So we just want you to kind of give us something to sink our teeth into.
But okay, so I'm telling you, where my beliefs come from is not just looking around and feeling a certain way. All that I'm speaking to, which I didn't come here with, you have Google. So I'm saying if you can't see that women and men right now, the relationships, what's happening with the divorces, what's happening with women's body counts, this is not what it used to be 15
I thought I was
years
going to
ago.
get a chance to respond here, but
So
You do.
You will.
you can quickly go to Google and you can look and see all of the stats. It's common knowledge that women
it's
are
not.
they're ending up alone in the statistics. They track who gets married. It's showing that 8 out of 10 of these divorces, the females initiate.
You
That's
you
not-
just said that you didn't bring the stats, so
Okay.
please
I'm
don't
telling
bring
you,
the
you can
stats.
hit. Well, you can hit
Okay.
Google.
Yeah.
You can look this up while
couple
I'm
of
talking.
things here.
Good.
So
Give it to Bree.
the social media thing, I do agree social media can be a bit of a problem, but it sounds like what you're complaining about, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but this is what it sounds like from outside as a woman listening to you talk about these things. It sounds like you're complaining that you can no longer isolate a woman to depend on you financially and for affirmations, like emotional affirmations.
Isolator.
you can no longer isolate a woman from getting those affirmations from society, from other people in society, to tell her she's beautiful, to tell her she's smart. You can no longer isolate and be the sole provider of that affirmation for her, and you think that that's a problem, that she has access to the world now, and that you can't isolate her financially because she's being encouraged to seek a career and get some foundation under herself. Because that's why women are always accused of being obsessed with jewelry, right? Because back in the day, we couldn't have our own bank accounts and things. We had jewelry because we needed something valuable. If we needed to bail on a relationship, that we could fall back on. Because we couldn't own a bank account, we couldn't buy our own homes. We were completely dependent on the man in our life. But that's not the thing anymore. And now we can support ourselves and isolate ourselves, and we can choose to leave when the relationship gets toxic. We can choose to leave when it gets abusive, and the man gets upset about someone giving you a compliment on your appearance, or something along those lines, or that you make a financial decision for yourself that he disagrees with, that you're no longer at his mercy. We can make our own decisions now, and that's good for society as a whole, because now 50% of the population, twice as many people now, can now engage in the society, in the marketplace, in the industries that we support, especially in Western society, when we're competing with some of the Asian
take a breath, Bree. Take a breath.
Yeah. No, this is exciting conversation.
I just don't want you to have a heart attack.
Now we have 50% more of our population that's able to engage in our market, in our economy, and put value into our economy. Now they can, and we have more workforce now because of it.
Okay. Thank you. Kid,
but I want to let Nick, or Kid.
Well, I didn't say any of that. I didn't say anything like that.
Okay, can you clarify then about that? Because it did sound like you were saying that she got isolated to just getting affirmation.
And all that stuff. Wait a second. So all that stuff, I don't know when you changed or whatever. But if you're talking about this stuff and you weren't a girl, then you shouldn't be talking like that. Like you've lived through that.
What
That's
are you
not
talking
right.
about? I'm talking about society, babe, not me.
Well, you sound like you were. Okay, so you're coming at from the same point of view that I am. You're just looking at what you've researched or what you're looking at, not what you've lived through. So,
honey, I've been divorced twice, babe. I've been divorced twice.
Okay, but I didn't say all that rhetoric, that 2 minutes of stuff. That's just that's not what I'm saying. It's not good. It's not good for the marriage if a wife is incentivized to push a button and be able to take half the income. Now, this is in the States. This is really how it is. Take half the income and take the children, and then demand payments or jail time for the next 18 or 20 years. That's not good for marriages, because who wouldn't push the button? That's
right.
Not
you
good
wonder
for
why
a
people
man
are getting married.
Or a woman. What a silly thing.
I think this is more a window to your mind and marriage than it is to the average
marriage a risky institution, and men are now saying, "Hey,
just do away with marriage
I'm
completely.
not going to commit like that anymore."
It should just be a personal. It should just be a personal decision between two people. There should be no institute of marriage anymore. I agree. We should get rid of it. It's archaic. It's basically
we understand that you're
right
hurt,
of ownership to a woman previously, but it's not anymore. So let's get rid of it. What's the point?
I'm not a big marriage. It has its needs.
Well, state marriage is silly. I mean,
before we go off, and again, another thing, if Marty would like to finish up anything he was saying or make a point on that, and then I do want to hand it over to Michael. After Michael, Nick has been quiet, so I'd like to give Nick a shout. There is also 2 more free slots available. If any of the ladies in the audience would like to come and join in, or anyone else would like to come and join in, the link is pinned. It may be full on the screen, but there is another 2 slots available if anybody would like to come on in, so definitely do. So, Marty, floor's yours, and then Michael, and then Nick.
Other than to say that the topics that you bring up, there are legit, sophisticated arguments and critiques for each of the separate things that you seem to be mishmashing together for your argument, but you don't seem to be bringing those kinds of critiques. Like, for instance, you brought a critique about college education. As a lecturer at a college, as somebody who invested in my education, I think that's a legit argument if you wanted to rail against what higher education has become, right? That seemed to be one strain of your argument, but it was mishmashed with that's what women are told from social media. And so it's difficult to disentangle the points that you're making. But I do think that some of the things that you're saying, should they be addressed in a level-headed way to talk about, they can be talked about. But for me, the thing that's preventing it is the filter, the hurt filter, where everything is mishmashed together in a way that really makes it difficult to unpack. So with that said, you can respond, and then I want to throw it to Mike or Nick.
I'm sorry you're having such a hard time understanding, but it'll get better.
Oh, no, I understand completely. I verbalize my understanding.
Thank you for joining, Samos.
Hi, Simos. Good to see you,
Good
babe.
evening. Hi, guys.
Nick,
I
go
guess,
ahead.
Marty, I guess the reason I don't have much to say to you, because obviously you're going to be biased. Your livelihood is, as I would. That's why it's a dangerous thing to put such an investment sometimes in something. So your livelihood is there. It's biased. And if you can't come out and say, hey, in this environment, this is a terrible thing going on where we're charging these kids all this crazy money, subsidizing it by the government, putting them in shackles, basically. They can't even ever claim bankruptcy and get out of it. And they can't even compete like in the free market. It's a big scam.
You're
And then every year-
you're starting a very good conversation.
But I'm saying and for you not to, I'm not here. I'm just hearing you trying to like make me sound crazy by speaking real calm, like you're smart.
I think the more you talk, the
insane
better that point is made.
That's fine. That's fine. You can think that all you want. I'm just saying exactly. So why would I comment? You're biased. I was wanting to talk about what do we see that's obviously wrong with the interpersonal relationships between men and women in the West, where we're ending up with all these latchkey kids. We're ending up with all of these
I think
divorces.
that's a legit topic of conversation as well.
Yeah, and I just threw out, I said I could talk about all kinds of things, but I think there's a myriad of different things. The main thing is they've taken men out of the home. And when they are in the home, they've turned them into Raymond from Everyone Loves Raymond.
Okay, can I?
See,
Right.
those are-
If I can
that's
just.
that's a weird statement to follow.
Right, oh no, I have
That's
something.
why I
I,
don't answer your. That's why I don't respond. I mean,
Okay, I've been
you've
quiet.
seen Everyone Loves Raymond, right?
no, I don't like Everyone Loves Raymond. I'm one of those ones
Have
that
you
doesn't.
seen that show, Monty? Everyone Loves Raymond. Is Raymond like? Do you aspire to be like him?
I have never seen it.
It's a sitcom.
He's a
Yeah.
character. All sitcom characters are characters of their members in society. We're supposed to laugh.
If
at them
I
and
can
think they're
just speak.
ridiculous.
They influence people. That's
Well,
fact.
If
Well,
I can
it's
speak,
life
is my mic
is
working?
Robbie, shh, we're talking.
Yeah, I know.
I think
You've
I'm
been.
like, shh, shh.
Oh, my turn. Don't make me hit the button.
Oh, hit the button,
I
Robbie.
just spanked the button. Now, Kate, me and you spoke the other night. We had a genuine conversation, all the rest of it. You know, I thought that we were both very honest with each other. I was honest with you about my situation and stuff like that, and people who know here. And you said about taking a father out of the home is a bad thing, right? Now, my wee girl is raised 4 days a week with her mother and 3 days a week with me. Then 4 days of the week, as of about a year ago, her grandfather passed away, and she did live at home looking after them and staying with them and stuff. So my daughter is now in a house with two very strong women, and 4 days a week. 3 women doing their women things, all of this shit that you hate. And 3 days a week, my wee girl comes and stays with me. Now, I'm not in the home. I ring, I talk. You know, I went down the stairs head first with her today on the phone so she could show me how to do it.
You're right. You're at better. That's a much better situation.
Right,
But
now that
best
situation,
would
now if
be
I can just
for
say,
you and your wife to work it out, and for her to watch the original biological mother and father work together.
we don't
That would be
argue.
better.
We don't argue in front of the child. We have our own conversations. We co-parent very well, in my opinion. The point of the matter is, I made that choice. I could have also made that choice to not go to every doctor's appointment and not drive the fucking 2 hours for 50. That comes down to me. And my daughter is who she is and has me in her life because of the decisions I made.
Absolutely.
If I can, man, if I can, You did say yourself that you transported your family across country to 17 different places because your goals were the most important one and you were the leader. You did say this, you led them, you were the leader. You took your family of 5 girls, 1 son, all over the country for what you wanted, which you admitted you spent most of your time head down trying to make money because you were raised to believe that you should go out there and be the breadwinner and the wife can stay at home and all the rest of it. Now, this, in my idea, is another sort of idea of toxic masculinity. There's nothing wrong with both people working, spend more time with your family and all the rest of it. The economy the way it is. Let me finish.
The father staying home, Robbie. Just add it on.
The economy the way it is now, you had to go and work and all the rest of it, and you ignored your family. You put your needs first and what you thought was best first, and you spent less time with your family because you were more involved in your work. When your family then caught on and sort of, I want someone in my life that's going to do, you weren't there. You're hurt, and we understand that, but this is what's happening. The toxic ideas that you were brought up on, that you miss so much, are bad. This idea that my daughter is going to be raised to make her own money, to be independent, to not need any fucking man, because we're all assholes. She's going to be independent. If she chooses to settle down and have kids, that's on her, and she can have that choice. She wants to have a career, I'll support her that way. But the society that's surviving now is giving independence to people who didn't have it before. And I think your loss of control is making you a wee bit nervous.
Men are not a prize.
Are you? Men are the prize. You're silly. So listen.
Damn!
You're pissed that you've made yourself irrelevant and are paying the consequences. Now that women can work, they only need one thing from you, and you apparently aren't good enough at it.
So
you are.
Chris, I
licking
agree
your
with him.
men.
I agree with him here. I'm a prize, Chris. I don't know what you're talking about, but I am on board with him on that one.
A prize what, Nick?
Nobody asked that. I wasn't going to ask that question. Simos, who invited your ass in here in the first place? Anyway?
Simos, I owe you $10. Look at your PayPal, bro.
There are some men on this panel that are a prize. I'll say that.
Right. If I could give chance, I'd like to. Excuse me. If I can, I'd like
women only
Kate
date
can have a chance.
The top 15% of men on all these dating apps. They're dating the same men over and over.
Praise the Lord.
That won't commit to them.
Well, what do you need a commitment, though? I don't understand this need for marriage and all that. As long as
I'm just saying the women,
child.
the top 10, 15% of the men that are dating all these women, because men date down. They don't date, they don't care about if they're a 9 or a 10. Chad doesn't care about you being a 4, and he'll tell you that you're possibly going to get married, but then you get ghosted. That is a bad thing that's happening.
Shout out to Maya. Thank you for the super chat.
I'll tie it back to sending your daughter off to college with the idea that she's going to be an independent lady and not need no man. Well, I'm saying if she doesn't want a family and she wants a career, have at it.
Do you know how many kids are out there looking at adoptions and stuff like that there?
Don't tell a little girl that, hey, you can have a career and you can get you a high value man at 30. You cannot. Because the man that you're considering high value is going to go after and choose the younger woman.
What do you consider high value in a man, though? When you talk about the top 15%, who are you talking about in men? Are you talking about
this is a window into his mind and no one else. This is all a window into his mind.
Says the great psychologist.
Right?
Oh,
exactly.
Can I ask?
Michael, yes. Tyler. Michael, please, Michael. Hi, Skylar. Thank you for coming. Another father in another situation, which is fantastic. I love all the dads getting a chance to speak up tonight. I'm really appreciating this. Michael, floor is yours. Thank you for joining, Skylar.
Yeah, so I just want to go back to a point that Bree brought up earlier. So you've made the claim a few times, and I don't want to go back and beat a dead horse, but I did want to ask you about this, but I want to let other people talk, yada, yada, yada. You made the claim a few times, and it seems to be kind of a foundational idea that you have. And again, maybe it's not, you tell me if I'm wrong, that the reason why you believe these things is because society is somehow worse off now than it was in the past.
Thank you, Athena.
A point that I want to go back to that Bree brought up when she asked you, So this is a historical claim when you say that these ideas, whatever you want to call them, feminism, whatever, are somehow leading to the, or somehow degrading or leading to the downfall of U.S. society, and that it has done so before. So, one, can you name an example where that has happened? And two, I just want to caution, there's a little bit of anachronism going on here, which is the big sin of historical reasoning and historical scholarship. When you try to take statistics from the 21st century and make some sort of value judgment on the past by saying that more women nowadays are leaving their husbands, or more women nowadays are doing X, Y, and Z, we have to be very, very careful to that for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason being that, one, we've only tracked these statistics really for only the past 100 years or so. So there's no way to historically verify that. Two, you have to be mindful of the fact that until about the 1960s, women, minorities, immigrants were treated as second-class citizens in the United States and didn't have the same rights as white men did in the United States. So to say that it's happening more now, or to make any sort of value judgment based off of those statistics, comparing the 21st century to anything that happened really prior to 1960, you have to be really, really careful about that. So number one first, right?
I think it was the birth control. That really did it. Because now there's no consequence. You know, it really loosened the reins on baby making without a consequence.
And that's a positive thing for society, right? That's a good thing for society. Would you agree with that?
So no, what I'm asking is,
same thing.
You're saying that it's somehow worse off, right? So what evidence are you drawing from? What comparisons or historical comparisons are you utilizing in order to justify that claim?
Okay, and what's the claim that you're saying that you want clarified that I made first? You said a few things, so go ahead. What's the claim now?
Well,
worse
there's
off.
About
few
the
claims.
negativity of birth control.
Shh.
Yeah.
No. Only maybe about birth control. So the first was that feminism somehow leads to the degradation of society. Right. So I would need historical proof for that. Examples.
Well, I would say that it's a component of it. It doesn't, a lot of screwy things have to be already messed up before you get to that. You traditionally you would see your male, what everyone would, harp on is saying this patriarchy and everything, that
Should I just give my questions to Michael to ask, and then he can ask them and Kate will actually answer? Is that how we're going to do this?
Yeah, what screwy things are you talking about need to be in place before feminism is detrimental for the Western civilization?
Well, I'm saying when you get to a point, when a society gets to a point when their legal system or any governing body or licensing body is highly favoring females and demonizing the males, that's not hard to see. You see this.
And what example would you give for that? What example would you give to back that up?
Like 80% of the time, it's guaranteed the male is going to lose custody of the children. Guaranteed.
I want to
There's
know what
reasons for that.
Societies that have crumbled under feminism are. I'm still waiting for that. It seems like
Show
there's
me
a
on this
hollow
brain
that
where
you
they
have.
hurt you.
Wait a second. Do you guys think this society, since you've been alive, like someone? Let me ask someone that's a bit older. Nick, how old are you? If I'm 52.
I'm your age, brother. I'm the closest person in this room to your age.
Marty's close.
So
He's
Marty,
just,
do you
he's just
really-
in the 15%. That's the difference.
No, do you
Does
really
somebody
think
answer his
when you
question?
drive down the street and there's no children playing out in the streets anymore, when you realize
I think
that
that's
there's- when
a
there's-
legit topic of conversation.
Yeah,
Because
when
you and I, correct me if I'm wrong, if you grew up like I did, you had to stay within earshot of your mom or
Mom.
dad, whoever's the loudest.
or the neighbor
right?
that had that responsibility.
Be home when the street lights
Or
came on.
The streetlights,
Yeah.
streetlight rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Streetlights go out, you come home.
Where's
Wasn't
poor
there a
Granny in the
mother
fucking
usually at
chat?
every home though.
Poor Granny
Wasn't
opened the
there a
back
mother?
door and kicked us out the fuck and said, "Don't come back till it's dark." It was different in Ireland, maybe.
See, Kate, that's one of the topics that I think we can have on the level discussions about, because I agree with you on that topic.
This
I
is just
wish
boomer ideas, though, right? is
But-
not-
but-
But Monty,
but,
you
I
can't,
mean,
you can't
I ain't gonna lie. I can sink my teeth into that topic. Like, I think that Kate and I could actually have a good conversation about
well,
that.
you just
I
met
want to
me.
debate Maui
I
on
just I just got this invite last night, and so like I said, I came here to discuss in general, and I didn't even know what the topic was going to be. I knew it was going to be possibly in the category of my beliefs with feminism, or you want to say feminism if you want your feed to stay monetized, and things like that. Having to curb our language, to accommodate. But let's stick back to the main point, which is our society right now, when it comes to the family is not better off now, is it, than when you were growing up? I mean,
Yes.
the family's about destroyed. Or do you not see that?
I think it's about what reason why the family has been destroyed, and I think that's more economical than anything else.
Well, roles
Because-
have been
Well, no, I
turned
think
upside down.
they have to. I mean, here's the situation is why
Well-
these roles sometimes have been turned upside down is because two parents are forced to work in order to survive now, right? Because of the economic thing where our corporations constantly take as much as they possibly can from us and pay as little as possible. Now, like, listen, I think Maui, I grew up a Gen Xer. I grew up a latchkey kid, right? My parents didn't have a choice. Would my mother have loved to have stayed home and like nurtured us and do stuff with us? Absolutely. But we didn't have the money. And my dad worked for the government. He was in the military, right? So worked for this country fighting. So I think it's more of an
My mom,
economic
my,
thing,
my
the
dad
role
put
reversal.
the nursing school application on the dinner table for my mom, saying like, you will go to school for nursing because that's what you want to do. Do it. Here, I got the application ready for you.
Yeah, and again, so I'm going to differ there. I think it's best if you're going to choose to have babies and have children, that when those children are being reared and their minds are developing, the best thing you can do as a man for those children is provide an environment where that woman can stay at home and do everything she needs to do and make those children the focus of her everyday life.
What kind of
You're talking
magic
about-
wand do
you're
you
Let me
need to
finish.
do
Can I
that?
finish?
That's not that. Let him finish, and then Skyler.
Well, he was talking about the top 15%
Let me
of
finish,
men, but that's
please.
who he's
Let me
talking about
finish,
letting have
please.
kids now.
Sir, let me
Because-
finish.
Let him have 1 minute to
Okay.
finish. Then Bree will
Okay.
respond, and then I'm going to give the floor to
But now I
Skyler.
have to gather my thoughts, but I'm on it. So
Okay.
I've held
Bree-
on. So for that man to do that, I'll now respond to some of those jaded. They were jaded, in that you were inferring, Marty, about, or not Marty, actually on this topic about working and all that. So in order to do that, the bad thing is that it does take 15 hours, 40-hour work week. What a joke. If you're going to take care of a wife and 6 children,
Yes, Nick.
and that wife is going to focus, you're going to provide a way for that wife to focus on those children solely, have her own money, unlimited access to everything equal as you. That's her specialty. I'd never walk into her school environment and start giving her shit about her curriculum choices or this and that if I hadn't done or participated with that. Nor should she get into my shit about what I'm doing, at the business or whatever. Those are roles that are right, and they're followed right. So the
I would
reason
need an argument for
the
that.
reason that I chose to do what I wanted to do and she followed, because what I wanted to do was have a family. And I knew that to have a family and not just a man cave and a hammock by the beach and a dog named Joe, which is a better life than having to work your ass off every day and go and do things that sometimes you don't want to do. I had to work jobs that I never fantasized about, that were very humiliating. I mean, all the way from, changing dirty diapers myself as a nurse's aide to, climbing satellite towers and stuff, dangerous shit to make enough money. So I'm saying that my focus
That's not a
was
minute.
very
You're going
much
on for a minute more.
on my family. So those are things that I think need to be set back. And when societies stop and they break the family up, then there's not men around to stop these crazy laws that get passed that make it to where 2 people have to work now. That's crazy.
Okay, I'd like to give the
I just
floor to
wanna
Nick
point out
because
that all
Nick,
your evidence is anecdotes, but Nick has something to say.
Nick has something to say before he bounces. So if I can give the floor to Nick.
Yeah,
please.
I'm going to have to bail. So I think if we can do the bumper sticker on your view, it's that the most of, or the more serious problems in society today are coming from the breakdown of gender roles and the sort of merging of or blending of these roles.
And the
That's-
loss, the loss of the father in the home,
and that one in particular. So,
or visitations.
No, let him finish. No, no.
So I think that's your central thesis. I do agree that, you had said sort of, well, historically we've seen that happen whenever, and that's not the case that I'm aware of. I'll also point out that I do think that those roles were actually oftentimes necessary for reasons a very, very long time ago, and there are reasons why they developed the way they did. But what we've noticed is that the more egalitarian a society becomes, and that's across the board, it's not just gender, it's race, it's anything like that, the better that society does. And I'll explain why in 1 second. But the long, slow arc of history has bent towards progress, and we live longer now than at any time in the last 100,000 year history of the human race. We live longer, we have more free time, we have more things to do with that free time, and across the board we are in fact happier. And there's always variation and things change from year to year, but every single generation, every single one in human history has, even if they've had it better than the generation before, sit back and lament, oh, this is why society is crumbling and this is why it's falling apart. And I don't see your claims being different than those of at least my father and my grandfather and so on and so forth, as they lamented why the U.S. wasn't going to last 10 more years because the old ways are going away. Now, the egalitarian bit, you said a few things that sound familiar. They were framed in a way that I've heard before. They were framed by a Canadian psychologist named Jordan Peterson. So I'm actually going to use one of his arguments because he talks a lot about this.
I like Jordan.
I was curious because I'd heard some arguments mentioned.
I like a lot of what he says.
So
not everything.
He says one thing that I thought was very interesting. If we are going to solve problems like climate change or the economic problems or anything like that, it's all hands on deck. And the greatest resource that we have is human intellect. Now, he had pointed out something. He said, if you take a man and a woman out of the general population, the man is going to be more aggressive 60% of the time, the woman 40% of the time. Not a huge difference, but that is something that appears to be genetic. So there are some differences.
Agreeableness.
There was and he also talked about agreeableness. He talked about whether you like things versus people and yada, yada, yada. But one of the important things to note,
psychologists are smart.
One of the important things to note is that there are women who, despite having those differences, are as aggressive as any man you'll ever see, and who like things as much as any man. And there are men who find other people interesting and fascinating, which means that there are men who can keep up with any woman in any role, and women who can keep up with any man in any role. And what Peterson said was that the more human beings who have their brain, the greatest tool we have, that have their brain working on a problem, the more likely we are to succeed. So even he was undermining one of his central arguments, because the reality is egalitarianism has, and if you take a look at the happiest countries, if you look at the most productive countries, they are the most egalitarian countries. They're the ones where people say you can be and do what you want to do. And if you die alone, that's okay if that's what you want. And if that's not what you want, okay, then everybody's different. And the societies that don't force those roles on people do the best. And as if you look at history, the one thing I can guarantee you, the less slavery we have, the less we tell people what to do, the more we allow people to be who they are, regardless of race, color, creed, gender, the better a society does. And it has taken us from a life expectancy of 32 200 years ago to a life expectancy of 87 today, with, again, more free time than any time in history, more wonderful things to do with that free time, and all of the. So I don't see how you can make that argument. I do have to go. I apologize. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, one thing before you go, Nick. I take it back. I take it back. You are a prize.
That was awfully kind. Thank you.
Yeah, but he likes lemon bars.
Thank you, Nick.
Actually, thank you very much for coming, Nick. Appreciate you being here. If I can, I'd like to thank JG for coming in. JG, you know Kid. Kid, you know JG, yeah?
Yeah, I
yeah, if it's some interactions.
Yep. Hey,
Skylar, thank you. Sorry,
Just saying hi.
Oh, yeah. Also, not Jamie, okay? Just to clarify that. People on stream can't see you because I like the way mine's set up, and everybody else can just but we can hear you. Skylar, I'd like to give the floor to you, and I would like to bounce back to Michael. I know Michael's biting at his lip, but I've sort of restrained Skylar for a bit, so if I can give Skylar some free rein.
I was just going to respond to the state after the statement I was making. I don't know how I could go after Nick. Nick was so eloquent and really articulated so well. But I don't know if this is what I thought I heard you say after I brought up the idea of work and why some of these roles are getting reversed here. Like you want the man to go out and work like more hours to be able to cover all the women's needs.
I'm not saying this should be like the way it should be. I'm just saying if we're going to call families and go along with this whole family thing, the legal system needs to be right about it, and men need to be informed. And men need to be informed that
it's the economy, right?
We're talking about the
Bria just said that Skylar could have the floor, please.
I was just.
It's sorry, Bria. It's well, I mean, it's not a legal system I'm referring to. I'm talking about our economy. Okay. And what you're saying is like men need to be at home more, but then at the same time, out of the other side of your mouth, you're arguing, hey, well, they have to work more so women don't have to work. And the way our economy is that, I mean, listen, I've been working since I was 15 years old. I started making $4.25 an hour at McDonald's. Right. And like at the height of what I made after working at a big tech company, like I still couldn't afford in the state of Florida to be able to buy a home and support my whole family without her working.
Right. It's bad.
So like when you say things like, well, it's an economy thing is what's caused women to go back in the workplace. I think more well, and also for independence, women want to have independence, but it all depends on the person. Some women may not want the independence. Some women may want the independence. Some women may want to be more like play that more of a mother role in the life. You know, personally, I used to tell
whatever they want. It's whatever they want. Yeah.
I mean, they're just like men, right?
Absolutely.
Men just what we want, whatever we want, right? I wouldn't have mind playing that role. Half our problem is we have so many men not at home right now. But your solutions aren't really solutions; they're just complaints about what's going on. And like the only way you're going to deal with this is if we have an economy where people can, like I think Nick was talking about, choose to do what they want to do, to have that freedom in a society.
Well, here's a solution. So, here's a solution. As a man, because all you can do, like all I could do if I was 20 years old again and was living now in these times and saw the political landscape, saw the economic landscape, saw the legal landscape, between marriage and all of that, it is not a good idea right now for a man to sign a marriage license. It's risky. There's nothing what do they get? They really get nothing. And the women, they get a lot of incentive if things go wrong. So it's far less risky right now. That needs to be changed. Like things like, for instance,
so pessimistic. Such a bad faith argument.
Yeah,
for instance,
I mean, I can give you a perfect example.
For instance, in my state where I am right now,
come on, kid.
Let me finish with this point. So in my state right now, a woman can go and file out a restraining order request, and it just happens automatically. Now, why is that? True. Well, it's very. I know. Go Google it when I'm done. It's a terrible.
I just went through.
It's a terrible law.
I know exactly how it works. What state
it needs to be changed. California. It's very, very bad.
Anybody can file for a restraining order, but a judge still has to approve it.
Yeah, but there's no evidence needed. But let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point.
Judge. I mean, don't be dishonest.
So now, when someone is dishonest, what needs to happen? Because you don't want to take away the ability for someone that is legitimately being abused and they need protection right now, right? Or you don't want to take that away, but you don't want to not punish those that abuse that and will use that to get a leg up on a man in custody, in child support payments, etc., in divorce. Because that is commonly used.
No, kid, if you can start to round up your point you have been ramming on, I'd like to give it to Skylar.
So things like that need to be changed. There's a solution that needs to be changed, but men need to be in the home and respected and have family behind them.
I'm going to give it to
support them, and if
that doesn't logically follow,
okay, now you're just
burned by the legal system
passing all
you're just
this.
repeating your
burnt by
statements.
the legal system. Everything
Yeah.
flows downstream from that. You got burnt by the legal system. That's it.
Well,
Yeah, and
all men
And I'll
do.
say my
Skylar,
statement,
Skylar,
and
it's all
then I'll
his.
let Michael go on to it, and I'll let Michael go on after me. I want to make so what I think you've done is I don't think you're honest about how the system in California works. Every time it's some kind of like if someone tries to file a restraining order, a judge has to approve it, right?
Right.
You seem bitter, like something didn't go well, obviously with you, right? And now you're thinking this happens to all men. I just went through a divorce, right? I won almost everything in this divorce settlement.
You're an exception, though. I'm not talking about exceptions.
No,
here.
because you don't know. No, you don't know statistics about it. I would guarantee. What's the statistics on how this? What are the reasons behind it?
Reasons
right?
behind what?
Well, okay, you talk about women filing for divorce, right? That is true.
8
It is
out of
true
10.
in higher number. Yes, right. That is absolutely
initiate.
true.
They initiate it.
But why are women divorcing the men?
Because there's no fear. I mean, they don't have to go.
Why should there be fear? Oh my
That's
God! Why should there
awesome.
be fear?
No, see,
That's
it's
awesome.
It's well, listen, yeah. It's just, I mean, that
should
just
be
saying they have no
equal.
fear.
That should be
There's-
equal, though, in the
there's
legal
no-
system. It shouldn't be slanted the way it is now. It's awfully
depending on
slanted.
most. Listen, like my state, we have Florida's a 50-50 state, right? You have to really
But that's
show.
different here. I wish it was like that. If you're going to get a divorce, the kids, it's statistically proven they turn out the best with 50-50 custody. But it's always assumed the man is not going to get 50-50 custody in this state.
So your problem
Immediately.
is not with the women. Your
just
problem is with the state laws. Is that right?
There it is. There it is.
What's there
exactly.
it is?
Well, I'm
What-
just
what's
saying,
there it
is your problem with the women divorcing men for
It's
whatever
it's not with
reason
the
they
women are
choose?
women.
Or is
Women
it
are women.
because the laws
Men are men.
support women divorcing men for whatever reason?
It's
they
the
choose?
cultural. Yeah, it's
what
the
between those two things is the primary reason.
well. Well, I would say that it would be the legal thing that you just mentioned would be something that would cater to what's in all of us, whether women or
What does
men.
that mean?
Well, everybody has snakes.
That
in them,
logic
right?
only works if those laws were just passed, because you're talking about the recent social culture. You're talking about laws that have been on the books since before this trend that you're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been going on for a bit.
So you're talking
sure
about
has.
laws which were created when
don't think-
one man
I don't think
could
you
earn
understand
enough
how much
money.
of a
Ah,
self-owned
Marty, now you
education.
overspoke Simos, and now kids overspeaking you. Give everybody a
Sorry.
chance. It's getting a little out of control, and I have been cutting off Bree because they're vocal in their interruptions, so I have to shout at them. But Bree, I'd like to give an opportunity as well, and Michael's trying to say something. So Simos, if you can go.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. So you're talking about laws which were created, right, when the situation was in your fairy tale view, in my perspective,
That's a big
that
problem, too,
men,
you're right.
men could earn enough money to support their family, their hobbies, their schooling,
Not really.
their insurance, their
Not really.
pensions.
Not when I went through it.
No, not well. When I went through it, maybe slightly different, but I'm a bit older than you, I guess. I don't know. But the point I'm making here is this is the laws that you're talking about that you're objecting to. Is they were the laws which were in place at exactly the time when the system, right, which was skewed.
Some I won't know
towards
exactly
men,
which ones you're talking
let's
about.
say.
Some were, yeah,
Well,
but they
there we
weren't
go.
abused.
Please, kid, let Simos finish.
Well, no, I'm just saying. You know, I've made the point, right? These laws that you're saying are skewed towards women, right? No, they're not. They were made at a time when you
No.
claim the situation in the society was treating men exactly the way it should. So I
No.
don't understand your logic here. It seems
I never said
contradictory.
anyone's been treating anyone exactly the way it should. I'm just saying that before we had the American household with, what is it, 30-40% of the kids don't have a dad in the house at all. And in states like mine, there is no 50-50 custody yet. That needs to be changed. That needs to be the default stance, and then prove otherwise, because it's always better for the kids.
Right. So it's
And there
the
is
law.
there is the legal system where I'm from in this country. No one, I don't need to bring any evidence or whatever. It is complete. It completely favors the female in lieu of the man. Absolutely does. There's lots of reasons why, and
Yeah, it's
money is a
traditional.
big one.
That's what I've just said. It's a traditional thing.
But
That's
but
how
we're not
things used to
asking.
be.
But we
Why?
don't let. We're not
Because
asking the
men had
women to
the
be
advantage.
traditional anymore.
Okay, so there we go. So are you
Right.
complaining that things aren't traditional, or are you complaining at the
No.
laws?
I'm saying if you want a traditional family, it's not going to happen marrying a young woman that has the mindset of the modern thinking, of this whole independence and I don't need a man. Why would she
Right.
even follow a husband
Why
around?
should she need a man? Why should she need
Why?
a man?
Because she wants a loving partner that's going to be a partner in life and
Because she wants a
support her.
husband, a
What do you
leader
want?
to
What do
lead.
you want out of a woman?
Can I make a statement real quick?
It seems
that I'd
like we
to
want
get
the same thing.
No, I want quietness, agreeableness. I want
What?
I want a feminine woman. I want someone that would love to make me a sandwich when I ask and be happy about it.
If you're role
Because
playing,
Wow, these are like
No, no,
meme
Because-
answers.
That's okay.
Okay,
That's
Bree,
okay.
Bree.
Because
This is the
Bree.
traditional view, exactly about the laws.
you don't have
Exactly
to
the
want that.
laws you're complaining about were
can I-
written when that was in place, when that
When
kind
what
of
was in
society was in
place?
place.
Man, that lots of women
My father's
would love
generation
that.
was part of that.
You're complaining about laws written in the
My mother was a
1950s,
stay-at-home
which
mother.
was
Right.
the time your heart belonged to.
Everybody's going
Anyways,
crazy.
Michael has been waiting so patiently.
Yes.
Michael,
I'm
you
Yeah.
are so
I'm
patient.
sorry.
It's okay. I just want to make more of a statement, and Kate, I'd like to get your response to it. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I guess I will anyway.
Yeah.
So, the validity of there we go. The validity of historical claims are directly proportional to the amount of evidence that we have to support them. So, your claim that feminism has led to a downfall or degradation of society, I think there's actually a large amount of historical evidence to maybe contradict that, or to show that maybe it's not feminism that we're really talking about here. Because if you look at the start of feminism, feminism gets its start roughly in the 19th century. You have some philosophers that are talking about women's rights, abolition of the rights of women. Wolterstorff, I think, is published in the 19th century. 1920s in the U.S., women get the right to vote. 1940s, women enter the workplace. What are the most prosperous times in U.S. history? Shortly after World War II. Now, I could make the argument that a big factor in that was women entering the workplace and the diversification of the economy. I think that's a little reductionistic, but it directly counters your point, so I could make that claim. What you would have to show is that in the 21st century, what you're saying is that feminism is directly responsible for that. What I'm asking is,
I didn't say it was directly responsible for that. I didn't say it was directly. I said it's just like when you have all the different decadences with behavior, like now this hookup society that we're in. This is a part of the degradation of an empire. It starts with the morals, with the cultural.
I'm asking you,
shifts that
where
change
is the
within.
empire degrading?
And then you also have, you will find that women are allowed to come in and start sharing and doing these things that otherwise they aren't not even traditionally just built for. They're not. We're different. We're not partners. We're different. We have different
That's-
roles
yeah.
to fulfill. And
That's
we-
a whole
and we
nother
display-
claim. But where is society going down in your opinion, and how can you link that to these social behaviors you're talking about? Where's the evidence for that?
Well, the men have been discounted now. Fathers have been discounted. You get no glory from being a stepdad. I mean, it's just
I do. I get tons of
Wait,
glory from it.
exceptions. I'm saying overall.
But
It's
where is
not-
society going down? You're saying just for stepdads, not as a whole?
Well,
Yeah, because I have opinions about that.
Yeah, I'd like to hear
Yeah.
Marty's opinions on that. We discussed
how-
this that Marty would like to.
how
Also,
about-
I'm
Michael's in the middle of his.
look at the carefree body counts that these young women are touting and flouting. Go look at
What does body
TikTok.
count mean?
How many
Wait,
people
wait,
they've
body
slept
count.
with?
Oh,
But
How many
that's
people
just
they've
a
slept with?
a
what's-
value judgment about people's sexuality.
No,
That's
and then
not a
look, I'm
political
just
or
saying-
economic or
That's just
historical
sex
statement about
shaming
people.
society.
It's
okay, we're going to
just
set down the
behavior.
law. We're going to set down the law. It's going to be Michael. Then Kate will respond. Then Bree will get the floor for a designated
Terrible,
amount
man.
of time, right? Then we're going to have Marty on Stepfather, and then we're going to go back to Skylar. And some way I'd like to try and keep that. Look at them arms. You think he's a leader for nothing?
Get it, Maddie?
I
All
just
right.
want to
Well,
apologise for increasing the body count of women.
Oh,
Well,
Simus, we thank you.
That's fine. Different for
all
guys.
I'm saying is we have to differentiate here between historical, political, economic claims on the one hand, which are backed up by historical, economic, political evidence, and then what seems to be just value judgments that are being made on the parts of the sexuality of women on the other hand, which the only evidence to back that up is people's personal opinions, right?
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
So you don't have any evidence for the degradation of society.
No,
the
I
economy,
do, but like I
politics as a
said,
whole.
when I'm sitting here talking, you can get on Google and you can go and look at certain studies. The one on Egypt I mentioned, I'll have to go and find the university, but it was new. Hey, look at how much power the women had, and they started tying it together. There's nothing wrong. Listen, when I say how much power, there's nothing wrong with me saying that. Look, if a creature, being a woman, is different than a man, if a society, yeah, let's take away a human being. You got a female and a male, but you have different things. They're different. We're not the same. So we excel differently at different things, and a society would fare better if they capitalized on those things and made those things popular, made those things, acceptable, instead of it totally being okay for your little girl to go out there, go to a university, end up on TikTok with a degree, supposedly educated, talking about, 50 guys this last year. Like there's no problem with that. That's not going to affect the rest of their life.
Why is there a problem with it? Why is it?
Well,
gonna
because
affect
the guy
life?
that she's wanting, when she's done with that, he doesn't like a high body count.
That sounds like a him problem, not a her problem, though. That
Yeah.
sounds like
It's not a problem. It's just the way it is, and that's why they're
It's
in
not the way it is. That's
married.
the way it is for you because
Or
you
they
have
end
a
up married to someone they don't like.
misogynistic.
I'm not misogynist.
position.
What is misogynist?
I don't care about a woman's.
Leo,
I-
no,
I'm a
Leo, we've got an order. It's been a little out of control. I'm very
Oh, I
sorry.
didn't know
We
that.
have
My
a week.
bad.
I know. We've
Hi,
got a little
Leo.
bit of an order we're trying to
I
go.
Flip State. I don't get why, and I think that you would take the position that a man could be proud of his high body count, right?
No, not necessarily proud. I'm just saying the effects are different. When a woman goes out, they're even studying it now. They're at about 5 partners. And I'm talking, if a girl wants to go out there and do this, that's great. But if she's saying, hey, I want to be a mother and a wife later, I would, knowing what I know, I'd have to counsel that young lady and say, no, it's not a good idea to go out there and sleep around. After 5 is the number that they're getting at, to where they have a hard time pair bonding with that husband. And if they can't get the one they want, they're going to settle for what's available and end up with some guy they really don't even like, but he's paying the bills.
It sounds
Doing
like
the
you're pulling this statistics or these ideas out of your butt, though. I've never.
No,
heard
I've
anybody say
read
that.
him. He's not lying.
That
You can
because
look all
a
this
woman
up.
has-
Like I said, I was invited here last night. And
Yeah, we were just
I know
chatting.
it
Yeah.
was but I'm not pulling things out of my butt.
I actually believe I actually trust Flow State, so I'll go with Flow State.
Aw,
take,
I trust you too.
My
Hey,
credibility,
you don't be flirting with other boys in the panel. That's my job.
No, Flow State's interested.
Go on ahead, Bray.
But, I'm gonna hand the flag over to Leo because he wanted to chime in about the body count topic. So
Yeah, the idea that like men care about it, I don't think that's true. None of the men I know give a shit how many guys a woman has slept with. They just don't care. Also,
I do.
with respect to everything you said after that, these studies, would you be willing to cite any of them in the private chat so that I can examine them for myself?
I could probably get back to you in a day with them when I go and link them to you. Sure. Which one do
That's
you
fine.
want specifically? Which one?
All of them.
Well, what is all of them? We've talked about all kinds of
Every
things.
study that you had in your mind when you mentioned the study.
No, I won't do that.
Okay, I didn't figure you would, but I just wanted you to vocalize
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
I'll give you one, maybe. I'll spend my
I
time.
did have an order before Leo came in. I know Breeze handed her time over, but there was some input I'd like to get from Marty and Skylar and other people and stuff like that. So if we could get a wee opportunity.
Guys,
to
I know
try-
these things aren't popular.
Yep, I made my point, or he made it for me, rather.
Thank you very much, Leo.
No,
I
he
appreciate
didn't. He's
that.
just not accepting homework assignments.
Yeah, I
Marty,
don't don't think it's
homework
not
assignments.
popular.
Yeah, but backing
It's not-
up the things
it's
that you
not-
say,
it's-
especially when you're claiming you have studies to back you,
You
up, and
can
then somebody
find
asks
them
you to cite
yourself.
them. I'm sorry, I don't know
Yeah,
why I'm being
Okay, well,
overtalked.
seriously,
It's
man.
funny that
I didn't
I
come
don't
here
know
to
why I'm being
debate
I don't know why
something.
I'm I don't know why I'm being overtalked. It's just bizarre to me. Yeah, it's just interesting that when somebody says
Because
I
you're trying
have
to do the
studies,
cite your
I don't know
sources
why
Flo,
I'm getting
I don't know.
overtalked.
Come on.
I don't know.
This is
It's
this
the
is just
remix.
It becomes
absolutely-
childish when
absolutely
everybody
bizarre.
talks over each other.
So,
Let's lay it
yeah,
down. Leo.
exactly. Exactly.
Right,
So
yes,
I
exactly.
don't-
Now
I
you're
just- I don't
talking over me,
understand-
and
I don't
you're now
understand-
talking over the
I don't
person who...
understand. So do I get to actually finish the fucking sentence I've been
You
trying to make or
do!
not?
If you'd let me fucking slam down on my channel the way it is, Leo. Bree give you time that she was already using up and we were moving on to another person. So I don't want you to start another whole big massive thing because other people have been waiting. So I would like you and
So people get
Flo...
to under-talk at me, but I don't get to respond. That's fine.
No, you didn't know this. I'm laying the rules down for both of you. Neither of you knew it. There was a conversation going with laid out people and stuff, and it's very difficult when it goes above 6. So, Leo, if you could finish your point to Flo, Flo will get a minute to respond, and then I'd like Marty to pick up where we left off again, and Skylar afterwards. Thank you very much for letting me
that's
talk.
fine. I just wanted to point out that I think it's interesting that somebody is literally saying, hey, I know studies on this. And then I just ask, hey, could I see those? And they say, no, I'm not going to show them to you. But Flow State wants to act like I'm asking somebody for a homework assignment when they're the one who claimed they had studies. And they're
Citation needed, right?
refusing to present them. I just find that to be intellectually dishonest, to claim you have studies and then refuse to provide them when you're asked to. I just think that's very dishonest to do.
Well, sorry, you
mate.
need it served to you in bite-sized, spoonfuls, flown into your mouth like an airplane. You got Google too. You can find it.
Flo, I think
You don't actually have studies. I didn't think so. You're just
I don't
talking
think
out
Flo
your
did
ass.
that. I think you don't. I think Flo heard me when I said, "Hey, tell me what you're asking for, and I'll give you one or two." But we've talked about 25, 30 different things. I'm not going to go and spend my time coming onto a podcast or a stream, and then what? I'm not going to sit down for an hour or two and gather up and go back and show all the links and everything.
And don't
Yeah,
cite those
if I can
sources.
just say, Kids link is in the chat. If anyone wants
I'm
to go
just
and
saying,
subscribe
hey, you
to
might
Kid, they can
find
go and
this-
talk to him. Marty is
Yeah.
coming up next after your response, Kid.
So I was just going to
Flo's
say,
barely got a chance to talk, though.
I'm just saying, look, here's some interesting things that you maybe have never even thought to even Google or even thought of. This is not stuff that's taught in universities. This is not what's on mainstream. I mean, if we're all being tricked and our families are being torn apart and a man doesn't even end up with a family, he ends up with a lot of guys are staying in marriages for a long time just because you've heard it's cheaper to keep her. That shouldn't be the structure of our family units. Those that don't want a family, those that want to go out and screw everybody, do what you want to do, but don't complain that you can't find a good husband if you're going to spend your prime years instead of focusing on making yourself a beautiful, wonderful wife, if you want that. So you're available to those high value 30, 35-year-olds that have their shit together, that already got a house, they have their income, and they want a good feminine wife to take care of, to focus on the children. If that's what a girl wants, don't tell her to focus on her degree. Tell her to focus on preparing herself for a good husband, looking for one in the first year or two
Right. Okay, thanks,
of
Kid.
school, then get your degree.
Okay, nobody knows what they want 15 years because nobody's the same person they are 15 years in the future. Marty, would you like to have the floor? A lot of people in the private chat are giving their time up to you, Marty, to give your point across. So if you could do that, please. And then we'll go to Flow
I'd
State.
appreciate it.
What's up, Goose?
The goose just came home. So getting back to the step parent topic, that was kind of a conversation a few minutes ago. I think that we have different opinions about that. So it doesn't seem, so I'm a stepfather.
Me too.
In fact, one of
I am
my
too.
children just
Happy birthday, Goose.
And I'm not talking about exceptions. There's good stepdads.
Kid,
there's good children that appreciate their stepdad and they were raised right. Most of them
Yeah,
come from a mother and father home.
Kid, please.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know about the most part.
Marty.
Which is true. So, when it comes to like the step parent topic, like, I'm a stepfather, and I think that in listening to you talk, And also, by the way, I'd like to stick up for you, Cade. Cade, I'm going to be actually arguing for you for the next second. I don't think that you need to present all of the articles that you bring up. I think that they exist. I think that giving you time to get them, should you want to, is totally an option. And I also think that these are articles that exist in what I'm going to call, and this is kind of, so that was me defending you, Cade, and here's where I'm throwing a little bit of shade, but it seems like these are the kinds of articles that exist in the manosphere, where they kind of fulfill a topic that I was talking about earlier, like confirmation bias. And it's kind of like the same kind of weirdness that makes them not really valued in social science. And because they're not valued in social science, they're not reported. And because they're not reported, they don't make it into the lexicon. But, you know, there are studies that do exist, and they're pointed to by people who, in general, it fits a narrative. When it comes to step parenting, I agree with you, Kate, again. Now I'm flip-flopping back to agreeing with you. It is an exception to have stepfathers that are engaged, that the stepkids get along with, because the statistics actually show that. I teach this in my developmental class. The statistics show that in general, stepfathers, when it comes to surveys given to their stepkids and to the stepparents themselves, there is a decrease in connectivity in the stepkids as compared to biological fathers with their kids in a traditional family. So I agree that that is a statistic that is demonstrated to be false, at least in my house, right? But I don't think that that is such an obstacle that it should prevent women from feeling comfortable leaving marriages that were not fruitful. Because I think that that's more prevalent than maybe your narrative is giving weight to. And I think it's good that they do have that option to press a button, because guys are assholes. Humans are assholes. Right?
Well, and
when the guy's the asshole, yeah, humans are assholes. I think that we can agree on that at least. We could have a 2-hour discussion about that and agree.
Sure.
Well, there's a presupposition here that the relationship that you have with somebody has to be eternal, right?
If Maddie's finished, are you finished, Maddie?
You could have. Sorry, go ahead.
A lot of people give their time to Maddie. I just wanted to see if he was finished.
Okay.
My ability to be a stepfather wouldn't happen if it weren't for the legal system that allowed my wife to leave the biological gamete donor to my children, who deserves absolutely nothing, because he's a deadbeat now. If there wasn't a pattern of men being deadbeats, right, not fulfilling fatherly responsibilities, because I think that you and I agree that, yeah, being a father is way more work than getting somebody pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's as much as you want. It seems like you're portraying that as like that's what all dudes want.
It sounds to me you're biased, thinking, you know, already that all dudes are assholes. And
I know that for a fact. Yeah, that is a bias. I accept that.
I said it as well earlier. We're all dicks.
All humans are assholes.
To the extent, though, the laws and the government should treat both sex the same, the asshole females and the asshole males.
And I'm glad that you brought that up. So to my ear, it really does sound like, because you make general statements that when asked to when we dig down into them, there are articles that you can't reference readily, which is fine, right? And when it comes right down to it, these general statements that you make about society, feminism, relationships, value of traditional families, it really just comes down to how you got screwed by the California legal system. And again, it just goes back to what I said earlier. It just seems like confirmation bias.
Listen,
you're looking for validation of being hurt, being on the shit end of the stick of the legal system.
You can't help
diagnosing. And when you make these general statements, when you make these general statements and you can't back them up I know that you just got this invitation yesterday, but this is a community of people who value good arguments. And good arguments are ones that can be justified. And every time we ask for those justifications, you fail us.
That's okay.
And then when you do give us something to sink our teeth into, it is specifically the California law that bit you in the ass.
Not
What kinds of
specifically.
justification? Sorry, quick question. Like when you say
Reasons for
Reasoned or
accepting
articles?
the proposition. Well, reasons would be given in the form of like, you know, if somebody's saying, look, I have empirical literature that can back me up, providing that would be giving reasons for accepting those claims or those propositions as true. That's
okay, so we're wanting academic data. That's really what you're looking for.
I'm after data. Yes, that's what Bree likes.
I think that's what everybody's asking. I think that's the point Mighty was
It's
making.
not the
was
only
it-
thing, no. Any good reasoned argument which has inference rules which show the necessary conclusion.
Let Simons finish.
Leo, you're breaking up really bad. We can't hardly hear what you're saying, babe.
Wasn't saying anything. What?
But your mic is breaking up.
Let Flow State ask his question, get some clarification, and if Mighty can respond then. Or respond.
Well, no, I mean that was basically it. The question was, what is validation for a claim or a argument, and is it necessarily academic literature? And the answer I'm getting is a yes, a broad yes.
No, it's not a broad
Well, I would
yes.
say
If
no.
that question, are you
I
asking
think
that question to
also-
me?
I was
like to
asking
answer the
you,
question
but
addressed to
then I
me.
guess it sort of applies to everybody. But yeah, it was for you.
So I'll just take 3 seconds.
Now do you respond? Yeah.
It depends on the argument made or the point made. Certain arguments or points can be logically laid out, like, oh, here's a justification based on philosophical logic. Others, when you're claiming, hey, most people think this, well, that requires like a survey that demonstrates that most people do think that.
So what would be then valid justification for you assuming that all of his motivation and reasoning falls back on him looking for confirmation bias and being butthurt?
What's my evidence for that?
Yeah, sure. Or your peer-reviewed paper.
Well, it's his citation from this
Yeah.
conversation, I would
Hum-
say.
I'll answer the questions asked to me.
Okay, sorry.
Hey,
Mike,
listen,
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna step away. I can still hear. 1 second, I gotta take care of someone's
That's
asking
fair.
to pick something
Thank
up real
you.
quick. I can still
Appreciate
hear.
you coming
Fair
still.
enough.
Check the
So
private chat.
my
I've set
answer
an
would
order
be
down. I've set an order of people
the-
speaking.
Answer I gave a moment ago, which is my justification for that belief isn't an academic paper, because I didn't say most people think what I think is true. Here's a survey to demonstrate it. I instead relied on logic. Cade admits he was burnt by the California legal system. That is a fact, undisputed. That seems to be the event from which downstream, these opinions about society is getting worse. Traditional marriages are better, right? Like those general claims aren't substantiated. He doesn't have a logical argument or evidence. When he does provide evidence, it all goes towards the California law that fucked him. From
Well, it
that,
might be-
I'm deducing and inferring from logic that it looks like confirmation bias.
Yeah, and I was just saying for the sort of evidence I was looking for, it doesn't necessarily have to be academic. It would just have to be an appeal to commonly accepted historical facts. So, for example, if I say that the United States entered World War II, December 7th, 1941, I don't need to cite an article for that because that's like well established, like beyond a shadow of a doubt. If you say that the degradation of 21st century American society is because of the acceptance of feminism, that I do need some sort of citation for, because that's not commonly accepted by economists or politicians, political scientists, or historians.
No.
Yeah, I would think you would need some sort of statistical analysis that shows that what are broadly considered negative outcomes are resulting from the acceptance of particular ideological positions. And I just don't think they're going to be able to provide that with respect to feminism.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't, I'm not making that claim, but I could provide a logical reason why that is at least a contributing factor.
Love to hear it.
Because the family, as the central social unit of any society, right? It's the building block of society is the family. It pulls apart the traditional model that's worked for, long time. So again, I'm not making that claim. That's not my claim. But there is reasons behind how you could see that it was a contributing factor at least.
I know Bree wants to say something. I just want to, because I know Bree wants to give a more in-depth response to me. I just wanted to say just a really quick statement that I think I would disagree that like the family is like the bedrock of human society. I don't think there is. I don't think there is a bedrock. Take it away, Bree.
So
go ahead.
Okay, it kind of just ties in together. It's going to be the same response. You're going to have the same response to me and Leo at the same anyway. But I was going to say that there's the idea that the nuclear family, the parent and 2.5 kids, that's really a new idea. Before the 1950s, before that it was pushed really to get women out of the factories so men can go back to work after World War II, when this notion of the nuclear family was pushed. Before that, extended families lived together. Multi-generational households were very common. Yep. And a lot of people lived like above their businesses or on a farm together in multi-generational families, sometimes mixed families. The idea of the nuclear family is really just sort of new. And I don't know.
Well, it's not a cultural claim though. It's a biological one. You can look at nature and you can see nuclear families come together even just for a short period of time before they pull apart back to be cats again.
I actually don't think that's borne out by history. I think most families were kind of like the one that I live in, where I live with it's me, my mother, my grandmother, and my nephew. There'd probably be even more throughout history. It's large.
Right.
Usually, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Just
multiple wives in history. So, but it still was a family unit. You had one husband, because you're not going to end up with a wife with multiple husbands. Why? There's a reason. We're different.
I didn't do that.
You have a husband that even though he had more than one wife, the wife, he might have even had concubines, but the concubines did not get the nurture, the protection, the provision, the inheritance and the children, the lineage. The wife that's the one that is cared for her whole. I mean, that's your children. That's the mother of your children. And so we have a different concept here with this whole one man, one woman, when in history it shows that, it's very natural for there to be one man and multiple wives, whether it be 2, 3, or 40, depending on what he could afford.
And my point, I guess, like the family I'm referring to isn't necessarily mom, dad, brother, sister. But it is centered around biological reproduction.
Well, I think, Flo, you have to have a man and a woman, a mother a father to have a family.
I'm going to comment. I'm going to take a small chance. I'm going to try and jump back.
Now you can function.
I'm talking. I think this. I'm talking. No, I'm going to talk. I'm going to hit the magic button that mutes everybody on the channel if I need to. I'm raised by a single mother. All right. Later after that, I was introduced to my stepfather. An awful lot of my upbringing and the way I approached life and stuff like that was during my teenage years and stuff like that, when my stepfather was around. An awful lot of my upbringing and who I am and my ideas about things, and approach to life comes from my stepfather. That's 2 people on this panel of only 9 that are good stepfathers. So you can say that, there's exceptions to the rules and stuff like that, but this shit exists, okay? Second of all, I want to try and get back on track with people talking and all the rest of it. Just let's not over talk each other. It's getting a little out of control, okay? Michael has some points he would like to make. I'd like to, you're biting your lip, Michael.
Sure. I mean, they're not really points. I mean, just some of the assumptions here. And I will ask for homework because I am a teacher and that's just kind of what I do.
I give Richard homework every fucking Tuesday, man. It's what should happen.
Some of the points being made here you would need to back it up somehow. The idea that in historically that men have had multiple wives. Like, what culture are you talking about? When are you talking about? We need to talk about specifics. The fact of the matter is, I think you'd be more inclined, it would be easier to support the idea. I think it was Leo that brought it up, and maybe Bree, that I mean, human beings from the time 300,000 years ago, when human beings existed in hunter and gatherer societies, they existed in large family units. Like Bree said, the idea of a nuclear family is like not even 100 years old yet. So that would need some evidence.
That's absolutely not true, though. You can look at censuses from centuries ago, and what's it show right there? Mother, father, and children, or
I
husband,
don't
wife.
know.
Children.
I don't know if we have that sort of data available.
We
I
do.
could be
Family
wrong.
without having sex.
I'd love to
You
see
need
it.
you need
The
a man
only-
and a woman to have sex. So
Sure, but well, you don't only need a man and woman to have sex. You need a man and a woman in at least the traditional understanding of man and woman here to reproduce, but not to have sex. I as well as other people on the panel can probably assure you that one.
Well,
But
purpose,
just one
having
quick point I wanted to
purpose.
make, and at least as I understand it, Michael is more like history stuff, so he can speak to this more than I could. But as I understand it, throughout most of human history, it wasn't like a mom and a dad and some kids. It was families, and even then, it didn't just extend to families. Like communities looked after each other. Humans are social; they're communal, oftentimes tribal. So this notion of the nuclear family, I really don't think it's borne out by history that this is an old concept. That just doesn't appear to be. What we see in most human societies throughout most of human history.
So you think there's just the individual and everybody? Like those are the only two units in society?
No. I'm saying it's going to be more structured. So we could look at the individual, we could look at the family, familial relations. We could look at like you could sort of call them maybe secondary familial relations, people that like your friends versus just your family.
Well,
We
those
could
aren't your
look
family.
at communities. We could look at, like in the United States, we could look at a county, we could look at a state, we could look at the nation as a whole. So I think that there's going to be a scale to society, and there's going to be nuances to the
But what's the
structure of
primary-
human society at the different scales.
Thank you,
agree, but
Sergeant
what's
Slim Jim, for
literally-
joining. Thank you very much, Sergeant Slim Jim, for joining. I would like to just point out, Sergeant Slim Jim, I can't get on screen at the minute. People need to be getting calming down. We need to start moving around the room as well. I'd like Cade.
Yeah, I'd
got
like
Midnight
to.
on
I'd
here
like to say
too.
something as well when I get a chance.
I can go
Yes.
back off cam.
So,
Well,
if I
nobody's
can,
talking.
Simos.
You made that point about families, and it's
So-
in history. I mean, I would agree. Extended families have been the rule, mainly for need rather than anything else. But I think as we're
Inheritance.
talking about need, I mean, I want to bring us together a little more, if I can, and just say one thing, which is I think maybe all of us agree. I don't know. If somebody disagrees, please say so. That having a father in the life of a child is beneficial. Anybody disagree with that?
Well, not specifically, no. I would just say there's nuance. I think that having
in
more
general.
than one sort of like, parental figure is beneficial, but I don't think the study, I could be wrong. Like, I'm willing for somebody to throw links and say, no, they've
Okay.
looked at this, but
Yeah,
I don't,
mean,
as
think
far
an
as I
abusive
have
father
seen,
wouldn't
yeah,
count
but
in
but
this
what I was
case,
going to say
right?
is, as far as I have seen, I don't think that the sexual or gender identity of the parental figures necessarily bears on the success of rearing children. That
No.
there is more than
No, it
one
doesn't.
parent there. That's what I've seen, at least.
Correct.
Marty, you'll need to
Okay.
speak up. I wanted to put, I haven't had Sergeant Slim Jim here, and I had to put him on stream. You weren't talking, so I flipped it to put you on, and now you're talking. But you're going to have to speak up. I can't see you anymore. Neither can the audience. You're still there.
So-
I was just mentioning that Leo's correct.
Okay, I disagree, and here's why I disagree. I think that
Hi, MathPig.
one of the things, or the way children, especially very young children, learn is through replicating the behavior of their parents. And I think it's very hard for a boy to replicate the behavior of an adult if there isn't a man to replicate. It's as simple
What?
as that. Does that mean that it's necessarily the case that all families are going to be beneficial by having a man? No, it depends on the type of man, of course. So I would just.
I mean,
put that caveat.
I think I come off fairly masculine. I mean, maybe some would disagree. I was raised in a single parent household with a
Yeah,
mother. I mean, sure, she had a boyfriend
Mhm.
for 11 years whom I consider my stepfather, and you know,
Yeah,
I look up
that's
to him
the
in a
point there,
sense,
then.
but
You
I didn't
answered
really
the
have
question there, then.
I didn't really have much of a male figure in my life. Like I wouldn't
Sure.
really my stepfather, yes, but like a
Yeah.
male figure that like I felt influenced who I am as a person. I
That's what
don't
that is.
really have.
I mean,
Okay.
What
I-
I
I'm
think you've
if I-
answered it, that you
You're
had
missing-
one for 11
you're
years.
missing a
and
dad.
That's
You're
the point I'm
missing-
making.
Everybody's now
I do
talking
think-
over Simos. He hasn't had an
I
opportunity
do
to
think
speak.
it's extremely beneficial to have a role model of the same sex to show you particular ideals which you may have to live up to. I think there are. What I would say is, I believe men and women are equal. That doesn't mean they're the same, right? And
Well,
that
of
would
course.
be my position. Of course, I know. I'm not just stating this just to be clear, not because it's obvious. And that's why I think it's important for boys, especially boys, to have male father figures, whether they be familial or not. Is not the point for me. I personally have adopted. I don't. I'm a
I think-
father figure through choice and through finding a boy which needed a father figure, and therefore I performed that role, and I did it more than willingly.
I don't
Okay.
think boys need to be
Sorry.
masculine though. So why would they need a masculine figure if like
No,
it's
they-
not necessary
sure.
for females or traditional females to be feminine or traditional males to be masculine. So I just don't think that it's going to be necessary.
why
that
can't a child have
Yeah, I
both?
think
specifically that
you're
specifically
conflating-
masculine or
Sure.
specifically feminine parents
Sure,
be
I
present
think
as
you're
long as there's
conflating
more than one.
masculinity
I
with
think
being an
that
adult
modeling a
man.
healthy relationship is the most important part, right?
I think you're just conflating masculinity with
So, guys-
having a male role model.
Anyone have any other questions?
I would,
Well,
yeah,
then why
thank
does
you.
it matter if the role model is male?
Oh my goodness!
Or
I'm
women.
going to just jump in. I've let everyone ramble on and talk over each other. Sergeant Slim Jim, I would like to thank you for joining. I asked Sergeant Slim Jim to come and join because I think an awful lot of what Kate is saying and an awful lot of what's coming across, Sergeant Slim Jim would align, see his point and things like that. Tried to be an equal opportunities asshole and bring everyone on who triggers everybody. So, Sergeant Slim Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, traditional family, actual Catholic, man, woman, kids, all the rest of it, similar to Kate in that vague stance I just gave you. Yes?
Aye.
Aye. So there you go. So,
Kate, are you religious? Just a clarifying question
Well,
for my own sake.
No
So-
organized religion. Christian, yeah, we used to be a minister, but got out. I got out of organized, all of that.
Right on.
okay, so Sergeant Slim Jim, I don't know, have you had an opportunity to listen to any of this? I know you finished work, but you've family duties after, obviously, work and stuff. So have you been able to pick up on any of the stream?
I started listening just as I joined. So
Okay, well, I thank you. Listen in, have a wee bit, see what's coming back and stuff. And Bree is going to explode if I don't give the floor to Bree. So Bree can have the floor for a wee minute.
Oh yeah, that's all I wanted to say was what I interjected and forced in there anyway between Leo and
Force it
Simon.
in.
I just wanted to say that I think that the most important thing is that you have two parents that model a healthy relationship for the children more so than what the gender or sex of the parents actually are or how they interact.
Exactly.
Yeah, or
I
which one of them
disagree.
presents. Yeah, I bet you would. Yeah, that's just what I think when we look at the psychological studies, that's what it comes down to with a lot of these children making sure that they develop healthy ideas of how to have a relationship as adults.
The number one predictor of someone being incarcerated is whether or not they had a father in the home.
That's
I
right.
I don't have an article to send you.
I think the number one is actually their sex. I think if they have a penis.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right.
I mean,
think-
my
I think you're
father.
right.
I mean, my father was in the house, but he wasn't much of a father. I never went to jail. So,
I did.
What about you?
I did it, but my father was in the house.
I mean,
But
I
we're
bet
sort
you
of in
can-
the same. We're basically in the same boat. But anyways,
But you could also
but-
probably
but-
draw a line. There's probably correlation between the charts that show the people in prison and the people with testosterone. It probably links up pretty close. You
Yeah,
see
the top three was male, males who are in the mid 20s, like 18 to 26 or something.
Military
was the
age
second
males.
one. And then the third one was whether or not they were raised with a father in the home.
So do you?
My source is
Kate,
Joe
can
Rogan.
I ask Kate a question real quick?
Yeah.
Do you think that the fall of like small business and that sort of thing is more of an impact on these problems you see with society than, I mean, give it over to corporatism? Do you think that that's more of an issue with the problems that you're pointing out than what the individual parent figures in the people's lives are?
I think that's a byproduct of there not being strong families with male leaders that can vote and sway culture. And now you have corporations, that'll set up a huge training program or agree to have that safety law because they know all the local little oil field companies, they couldn't afford to run their employees. That's just a byproduct of greed. But you need to get rid of the family, because that's the opposition. Because when you have one leader, you can't have two leaders in a home. When you have to make a decision that no one agrees on, you all have to agree who's going to be the person that we trust enough. And traditionally it's the male, because we're logical and we're not feeling based.
Oh,
Women
stop.
are nurturing. They're great for the home. They're great for children. They can do things that men cannot do. We cannot do these things, so we need each other.
This is some bullshit.
A lot of the
Look up the big,
a
look
lot
up
of the
Big
stuff
Five.
that you guys
Look
say
up the
is
Big
bullshit.
Five
It's
data.
just taught to you in school. In a book.
Universal sign for bullshit.
That's just your
Well,
wokeness
he's
speaking.
answering
Look up the
my
psychological
question. Let him-
research, and you'll
Will
see.
you let him have the floor to answer my question? Were you done, Cade?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was responding to my inquiry. Now, whoever. I know you all have some bullshit to call. Mowdy had something to say. Go ahead, Mowdy.
I just had a song to sing. This is some bullshit.
If I can ask
No,
one question.
Men are more logical. Seriously, Cade, do you genuinely believe that men are more?
Absolutely, 100%.
Women have more gray matter than men. Did you know that?
I said men are more logical than women.
Do you know-
100%.
do you know how the brain works?
Women are more emotional.
Can I
That's
ask a
a
quick
fact.
question? When you say that men are
that
more
a fact?
when you say that men are more logical, what exactly are you saying? That's just kind of like
Yeah,
just
let me
saying they're
define
more
that.
logical.
Not smarter, not
vague.
smarter. Men have the ability.
Marty, what's
to
the chances
cross
of
out
getting her on to talk? Please, I swear to God. I just
Not
want to know
what
if you're having fun.
emotions out.
Not even on
Not-
camera.
not-
Put the mic off to the side. Just put the mic off to the side. Let her shout.
The term "not smarter" isn't any less vague than the term "more logical." Like, I'm not understanding what it is that you're trying to say here. What is the difference that you're trying to describe?
Go, Leo.
That a female.
mean-
Oh, you're asking me or someone else?
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
I'm asking you,
sorry.
Cade.
Leo, you're asking this?
Yes, I am. I'm asking it to you.
Okay. And did you grow up with? Just curious. Did you grow up with a dad in the house? Did you have a father? Do you have a relationship with your dad? Do you like him?
He just went
No,
over it.
because he wasn't around. Why? No, I'm not very fond of
Okay.
him. Don't have a reason to be.
That's cool. So you don't agree that men and women are completely different in the way they think?
Well, I never said that. I just asked you a question. You made the statement that men are more logical than women. I'm just wanting to know what you mean by more logical, because that's just ambiguous to me.
Okay, here's what I mean. If you're in a plane and the main two pilots, let's just say whatever reason, or one pilot that was flying died, and there was a female pilot and died while one of the engines went out, and a lot of shit going on, and there was two pilots in that plane with you, one's a female and one's a male. In that crisis situation with all those decisions to make, who do you think everybody on the plane is going to choose? With all things being equal, same amount of pilot time, who would you want in that cockpit with all that shit going on?
Well, I really wouldn't care, honestly. If we had two
I'm called
pilots,
cap
one
on
was a
that.
man,
You're lying.
one was a man, one was a woman, and they were both, had were equal in their skill. I really I just don't care.
In
fucking
a crisis, situation.
Fucking put one in the cockpit and let's get this shit under control. I don't care which one you pick. Now, appealing to broader social biases that people may subconsciously have isn't an answer to the question. What do you mean by more logical? I'm not getting an answer to that question.
I know. And had you grown up watching your father and your mother demonstrate this, and watching your dad be
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just gonna assume you don't have an answer.
Emotional.
So you don't actually have an answer. So you're really you can't tell me what you mean by your own words. It seems that you're just kind of plugging out of your ass.
I don't see any female CEOs. I don't see any.
Well, I know
Bridgets
female
and
CEOs.
I mean, it's
stuff.
like,
but again, that's just I don't see something.
In general, I'm saying in general, man, there's always going to be an exception. But where's all these ladies running these big corporations?
It still
Where's
isn't
all
an
these
answer to
that
the
they
question.
built? I'm saying it's obvious. I don't have to answer something so silly. It's so obvious in society that women and men
Yeah, but shit
ton of silly questions.
how they
You
process
got a
things.
shit ton of silly
make
questions for not answering silly questions.
Can I cite something really quick from Science Daily? This won't take long.
Says
and
Leo,
this
it won't take long. Let's not lie.
Science Daily from McMaster University, published in Science Daily, quote, a survey of more than 600 board directors showed that women are more likely to consider the rights of others and to take a cooperative approach to decision making. This approach translates into better performance for their companies. So there's empirical data that what you're saying is just not true.
And women have only been able to take
Where
these
are
roles
they?
in the workforce since the
Where are they?
1960s, like we talked about before. They didn't have this option until fairly recently, till second wave feminism, really.
Y'all are working real hard to not see obvious realities around you. Proof doesn't
No.
come from
Your
science.
flow state and Cade, your only arguments so far have been personal incredulity, while backing up your general claims with nothing. Fluff.
And your only arguments have been to just sort of negate and diagnose our claims.
Actually,
Yeah.
no, I made a positive claim, cited literature, and there's a link to it in the private chat, actually. See, I'm showing you how you're supposed to do it.
See, I saw
Modeling
this
the
live stream
behavior
and I
we
clicked the
expect.
link. I'm not prepared for this, and I'm not giving you sources because you ask for sources disingenuously. We've been through this
Actually,
before.
what source? What really?
Leo got
upsets you is
less.
that they-
Leo got the only person in this panel that got less notice than Leo was Sergeant Slim Jim and I think Midnight. That's the only other two people who.
Cut in.
Yeah,
So fuck you.
that's what I'm saying. You have got less notice than Leo. Everyone else had more notice because they joined before. Now Leo's a pedantic asshole and he probably has a fucking list of shit that he has to copy and paste because he's always prepared because he's Leo.
Actually, no, I just find the stuff on Google.
Shut
because
up,
when you
shut up. Let
actually
me
wanna
insult
know
you.
what the
Let me
answer is,
insult
it's
you. You
not
talked for
hard to
long enough.
find
It's
it.
my turn. It's my turn to talk.
Like your ring,
I don't
Leo.
mind late notice, Mathpig. I have no problem. I'm just saying I didn't come here with a bunch of articles or even a subject matter. Per
I
se.
think the point,
You
right? If I
didn't
can just say,
pronounce
Marty,
arguments.
no, I'm going to smack down
You
the old
mispronounced
leader.
arguments. You didn't come with any arguments.
Right? The point I think that Marty was making earlier,
Yeah, I didn't
that Flow
intend
State, joined your side and stuff upon, was the fact that when you make an argument, if you're used to making this argument and it's something that you believe in, you may not be prepared, but you have the ability not an instant, but within 5 minutes, I know where my information is stored because I've had this argument. I can back up what I'm saying. So like Leo, just do a quick search, knows where he's looking for, knows exactly what he's looking for. Boom, there's it there. You know, if I said to Sergeant...
Leo requests sources disingenuously as a power play, right?
But what do you mean by that? What's?
Am I not going to get to
I've already
finish my
explained this to you
fucking
before.
motherfucking
Can you
point?
demonstrate that's true, that I'm doing it disingenuously?
I won't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, let
because
it
you
finish my
can't. You're
point.
just
Just
talking
checking.
your ass. Yeah, you just say that, but you don't have anything that shows that's true. You can't appeal to any behavior specifically that would indicate that I'm not being genuine when I say, hey, can I see the research that you're claiming you have, the claims you're making?
Can you send me your sources? All of them.
All of them on what? I mean, with the claim that I made earlier and the
No,
I
that's
cited
what you
from, the
said.
link
That's what
right
you said
there in the
earlier.
private chat.
That's what you said earlier. Everything that you've referenced, will you email it to me? That's what you requested earlier. That doesn't seem disingenuous to you.
That actually wasn't what I said specifically. I said I said every specific study that you had in mind when making a statement. I want a link to that study.
So he
to
doesn't
those
even have to
studies.
reference the study. He just has to think about it.
What? No, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Let me
Is
say this a
Marty
little bit.
having fun? That's the only
Every
thing that's going through my
study-
mind right now is Marty having
Yes,
fun? This
Marty
guy
is
was
having
bored,
fun.
wanted to stream. Is Marty having fun? He's having fun.
Look at that.
Every study that he had in mind, I'm assuming at least that there's a specific paper that he's thinking of when he says, I've got a study or I've got, data that supports this. And so what I was saying is that every individual study that he has in mind when he says that, I wanted a link to each of them.
Well, if you doubt something, if you doubt a claim, why wouldn't you go at it from the other end and search it yourself and try to show that it
Because
doesn't
I don't know
exist?
what to search. I don't know what to search. I don't know the studies that they're citing from. I don't know where to find them. That's why I'm expecting them
The subject.
to say, or rather
You
to
search
show
what he claimed.
me what the research they're claiming they have.
If I claim that there's a study
to
that
make
says that
their
apples are
claim.
red, you can search red apple study and find it probably.
Yeah, but if you make a claim, it's your job to substantiate
See,
that
and
claim.
this is why it's
About green
disingenuous
apples.
because it's shoving the
Wait.
obligation on somebody else.
Telling
instead of-
somebody, wait, no, that's not. If
You
you,
don't doubt
make
it.
the claim, it's your job to substantiate.
Right.
Telling
You're
the other
leveraging-
person
You're
that they
leveraging
go look it up
responsibility,
is
not
shifting the
because
burden
you
of
doubt
proof.
the study
Not
exists.
asking the person who made the claim to support the claim they made. That is not shifting the
Leveraging
burden.
responsibility is my
About that.
new favorite phrase.
For
You're
welcome.
asking me to be
shifting burden
responsible.
of proof.
Has
The point is
everybody
that
finished
you-
over
if you
talking
doubt-
everyone
if you
now?
doubted those studies existed,
No,
you
okay.
would look for it, right? You don't doubt the
I
studies
didn't doubt
exist.
that the studies
You just want to
existed.
make the
I
claim
didn't
harder
doubt-
to prove.
And I didn't say that I doubted the studies existed. I don't even know what you're talking about right now. I never made that claim.
I know you don't know anything about it.
I don't
Why-
know what you're talking about. No. You're not
Why
doing a
do you-
very good job.
why-
telling
I
Okay,
me.
let
love
me ask
Slim
you-
Jim's
let me ask
cam
you-
face,
Why
just
do
sitting
you
listening
want all
and
the
smoking
studies?
your pipe.
Why do I want the studies? Because I want
What?
to see. I want to see the. I want to examine the legitimacy of the literature he's claiming he has. That's why.
Is it because you doubt they exist?
No.
Is it because you want to make his job harder in making a claim?
No.
Why do you want them then? Why do you want to examine them?
Because I want to see the data that supports the claims that are being made. I want to examine the reasons somebody else has for why they believe what they believe.
But if I tell you apples are red, do you need a study for that claim?
No, because I already have a precedent for that based on my own experience, but not for the claims that he was making that he also claimed he had studies for. So that's just not analogous there.
So you have doubt. So you doubt that these studies exist then?
No.
Well,
I
you
just
see how
want
we're
to see
going
the
through it here?
literature. I just want to see the literature. Yeah, I don't understand why. I just want to see the literature that's backing up his claims. And the funny thing is I
Because-
don't know why that would be such a profound thing to ask,
The-
especially
so
when
the only-
you're
the
the
only
one
reason-
claiming that you have the studies. When you say
The only reason
there's
that I can think of.
literature
Thank you,
backs up
Stephanie.
my claims at X, but I'm not going to give it to you. That's disingenuous. Asking somebody for the literature they're claiming to have
There,
is not
there.
disingenuous. I
That's
don't
why
know
you
what
need a
would make you
dad
think.
right here. You need to calm down.
Why do I need a see?
If I can, no, hold on. No, I just want. Oh, no, kid. That's
Even in
getting
absence
emotional.
having
Look
had
it.
that figure.
No one
Kid,
said
you
they
don't
wanted
know
to say
Leo. You don't know Leo. This
just
is
watching
Leo
his
Cam.
emotions.
No, this is
I
Leo
just- I
Cam.
just-
Leo actually shut the fuck up when I started to speak this time. This is Leo Cam. Leo has, I'm gonna say issues. He likes to fucking talk. He's worse than
No,
me.
I have
This is-
autism.
That's
I mean,
fine.
I suppose that's issues if you.
Well, I wanted you to say it. I didn't want to. I wanted you to give a better description. Some people are specific, Asperger's, autism, and all the rest of it. I wanted you to be specific. This
Yes,
is Leo.
Budweiser.
Okay, this is, he's being respectful because he's actually listening to me 70% of the time I ask him to be quiet. If Leo's in a mood, he fucks me from a height. Do I have to kick him from the room? Somebody actually paid my stream a $50 super chat to kick Leo from a stream because he
I will.
overtalked that one. All right? No fucking joke. This is Leo Cam.
do it.
All right? So that
Leo.
insult, that was you making an inference that you accused other people of making an assumption on what they think you think. You made an assumption on Leo. You don't know his background. You don't know his genes. You don't know his bio. You don't know who he is. So you made an assumption too. So this is getting all out of control. I would like to get a little bit of input from the wizard without the her in the top corner. That would be Sergeant Slim Jim.
Well, flexing that everybody's doing.
Thank you.
But I mean, I think my point of view is pretty obvious here, right? The traditional family, man, woman, united in holy matrimony, making kids.
Holy matrimony.
And your thoughts on marriage? Is it the correct way to go, Sergeant Slim Jim? You are a proponent of marriage. You believe in a traditional
Yes,
marriage.
absolutely.
So, what of the things that we have said? Have you either agreements, disagreements? Would I be able to say that you would be on the side of Flo and Cade? Would I be able to say that you have agreements with the other side? Are you open to other points? Give us some feedback. As a person who's come in and just seen the fucking massiveness of the fire that is this.
We're just the other side, guys. We don't get named. I see how it is, MathPig.
You want me to fucking...
Did somebody hear something?
Oh.
Sorry. No, yeah, I based on what I've heard so far, I probably side with Cade and Flo. Plus, it's a nice looking stogie, Flo, Scott. So I gotta.
I have a 20-year-old Dominican Republican one down the stairs that I'm saving. I was saving it for the person who gave it to me's funeral, but nobody would join me in smoking it, and I didn't want to smoke it.
No, that's
so
too
Well,
I just
light
have
it.
a brass
Smoke 'em
one.
if you got 'em.
Quality riff.
No, I've got
This
cheap
is a-
ones. I've got cheap cigars. I can smoke them for the flavor. They're all right. If you're gonna smoke that, that's a special occasion, man. That's a special
This
occasion.
is a Monte Cristo signature.
Oh,
He gave me a 15-year-old. Yeah, it would be 20. He gave me a 15-year-old Dominican Republican cigar when my daughter was born. It was the daughter's grandfather. He gave it to me, and when he passed away, I brought it to the fucking funeral. I asked his son. I asked other people. Nobody. No, we don't like cigars. Not the thing.
Hey, MathPig, can I make the stream all about me?
Oh, how the did that automatically add?
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna ask for that. What
I didn't see him because I'm at 9 on my beautiful square.
I'm currently waiting for an ambulance.
Lovely, Wildheart. Wildheart, well then what you should be doing is phoning them and asking where the ambulance is, and possibly not on stream. This is the...
Why do you...
Hold on. Okay.
There you go. He did this before with Kerr. I just, like, what?
Yeah, he did.
It doesn't matter. My question was to Sergeant Slim Jim about what he thinks about everybody's big muscles. Mine are clearly, like, not as big as Marty's, but I'm getting there, you know.
Work hard. You could do it. Pump that iron.
well, I can't get a good look at Flo, but
Their mummy doesn't allow them to smoke in the house.
it's dark.
Flo probably would have smoked those cigars with you, though, Robbie.
A nice whiskey, 1 ice cube, cigar. I'd be happy.
I don't drink much anymore, but I'll smoke all night long.
I rarely drink from the bottle, but I'll smoke a
So you guys want me to
little
give,
Here, Lewis.
you want me to give you a parting thought? Because I'm going to have to go here. In a
Yeah,
little
we'll
bit.
be rounding up soon enough anyway. If I can just shout out to Ace Theo in the chat. We're going to blame Ace for tonight's stream because I do believe it was Ace that introduced me and Cade. So it's all Ace Theo's fault.
So, Cade, what's your drink?
What's my drink? You mean when I drink alcohol?
Yeah.
I like bourbon. Like
Manly
brand.
drinks.
whiskey. Huh?
Manly drinks.
I haven't drank in so long. I can't tell you.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
But it was the Browns, the Brown
Yeah.
Liggers.
Oh, yeah.
Cade, I would like to give the floor to you if I can make a statement first. If I can make a statement because Cade
Let
says he
Cade
has
talk.
Yes, Cade, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate you putting up with everybody.
No, it's fine. It's not a popular subject matter, and I'm totally agreeing with all of you. If I came on here and accepted a debate, or I said, "Hey, I'm going to come over here and educate a bunch of people on whatever," I totally agree. But what I'm saying is, when I'm citing these things, we all have Google. I'm saying, hey, you might not have ever thought of this. It's not taught in a university. It won't be on your TV, especially if it's something that's not in our best interest to really understand and comprehend, because people just want to do what people do. We want to dominate. The bad ones do, and they're always here. And so I'm just saying the family unit is critical. It's been undermined. Its value has been dropped so low. I heard so many arguments and nothing. I'm not directing. It's just no one's unique here in the arguments. It's what we've all been taught, from my opinion, and we hear it so often. The man is devalued. The husband is, oh, look at these studies. Don't even need a husband. Man, I'm just saying it's very important to figure out what's going on as a dad, or as, and if you're a girl and you're looking around and you're going, why are my friends, not finding the guy of their dreams that they've been wanting, and they keep getting ran through, or false promises and having bad men taking advantage of them because they're good looking and they're 6'2" and they make six figures. That's who all the women are dating. 30% of us now at age 30 are freaking virgins in America. What's wrong?
I would be very lucky to find myself a woman that makes twice, 3 times, 4 times my money, and just
So all I'm
What's
saying,
wrong with being a virgin?
Yeah, those
Yeah.
statistics.
So I'm just-
You're citing statistics.
Thank you, Green Soul.
What even is virginity?
Hang on a minute. You're citing statistics there, which aren't strictly true. If you're going to say it's 6-foot men who earn 6 figures that and good looking, you're talking about. You're not talking about 15% of men there. You're talking about 1% of men.
No,
So,
yeah,
no,
with the
I
100,000, with
women
the
are
6
not
figures,
choosing-
with the 6
women
figures.
are not choosing. Women are not that picky when it comes to choosing men, and when it comes to choosing men to have children with, they have other criteria than just the ones that they want to sleep with. You're conflating two things which just aren't really the. You're
This
just
is the
conflating what women
manosphere
want.
stuff
You
Navi
don't know
was
what
talking
women
about
want any more
earlier.
than I do. That's for sure.
It's just what I'm watching, and a lot.
Watch
of,
more
too
content.
much Fox News for watching.
Now, haven't you guys ever? Have you pulled up TikTok? Just pull up TikTok and put.
I
in
don't
there.
go on TikTok.
Yeah, I have better
my
things to
God,
do.
I
I have
Algorithm
better-
do its thing, man.
I have better things to do than.
I do go on
TikTok.
Twitter though.
Well,
so.
yeah, Twitter's much better. Kind of. But
They're all
I think,
humans.
Anyway, look, thank you for the the discussion,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a new topic.
Yeah, and I guess that's it. And the effects of
It's a
social
topic which
media.
needs to be addressed in society. That's for sure. So there's no shame about that, and I don't think anybody here is trying to denigrate you as a person. Just some of your
Yeah.
ideas seem a little old-fashioned to me.
Now, what
I
I
appreciate
did.
that you're holding down the truth. It sounds like you've been kind of holding that spot most of the stream before I showed up.
What's that?
The spot of the truth.
Yeah.
Well, this is one of the reasons that I reached out to Sergeant Slim
While
Jim.
providing no arguments for it.
I reached
Oh,
out
look,
to Sergeant
truth
Slim
is-
Jim before the stream started because I didn't want Cade to come on completely alone. And I'm not going to say ally or friend or anything like that, but I didn't want. I try to create a fair platform here, Cade. I think that you've
Yeah.
seen that from the people that come on. I'm an asshole to everyone. I probably overspoke Brie a wee bit more, but they interrupt more, and I love the bones of them, so I can get away with it.
Okay, so
I try to
just the
create
flow
a
state
fair
then,
scene.
since you said your bit, right? So just to talk to flow state there, when you say truth, of course, that is a highly subjective term, and I'm not sure that
Truth isn't
do you-
subjective. My interpretation of it might be, but truth isn't.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about, then, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I see that.
Okay, that's great. Anyway, look, I just want to thank you. I mean, I just want to thank everybody really for the conversation, because it's made me stop and think again about some of my ideas, and that's really what these debate platforms are good for, as far as
You
I'm
leave the audience asking questions.
I want to thank
Yeah.
Simus for being sexy.
He also likes lemon bars.
Thank you.
So
I want to apologise again just for being in the 1% of guys that are over 6 foot, earn 6 figures, and are incredibly handsome. So I just have to apologise again.
You got to listen.
Okay.
You're right.
Give
You're
us our
right with
women
your
back.
stats. You're right on
Wait.
your stats if you throw in 100,000. They're not
Have we
just
ever-
wanting 100,000, but you don't have to have 100,000 if you're 6'2", eyes of blue. Chad, you don't.
Earth.
One of the
Do
other.
what 6 foot could do.
But anyways, and I think that's a problem. I think women are passing on good men that make $50,000, but they're being lied to and told that they can put it off and put it off and put it off. They have a biological clock,
Wait,
and
put what
it's
off?
not good. Put off
And
finding a
cats.
husband if they want a husband. If they don't want a husband, I don't care what they do. You know, because
and I'd like a demonstration that this is actually a problem.
what's a problem? Putting off
The
marriage?
thing that you're posing as a problem.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if
because
you
when-
want to have kids, and you can't have kids because you waited too long, then that's a
Yeah, but what if
problem.
you don't want
You
to?
can't get married and have an
There's a whole-
adoption.
There's a whole bunch of assumptions built into that, huh?
You
No,
can
they
get
put
it.
off. They're putting off. If a girl is going to school and focusing on her degree and says, "I'm going to get married at 30," well, right around 27, 28, all of a sudden,
It sounds like
reality-
you need to fit in a specific box for your narrative to work. Hey, man, if you're from Kansas and you're a woman who was born on
Hey,
a
man, you got more
Tuesday
girls
and you
going
want to
to
get
college
married
now than
by the time
guys.
you're 20 and you happen to like architecture, man, your fucking odds are bad. That's what you sound like to me.
I mean, he did qualify it. He said, if you want to have a family.
When
That
the
was a qualifier.
qualifications get so narrow, you cannot make generalizations. Do you understand how that works?
Okay, do you understand this? Let me explain to you. It's very simple. A girl's value in this world right here is based
Please
on
tell
her
me a girl's
looks,
value.
her youth,
No.
and her ability to have
No.
children. Yes, it is. That's what
No,
a guy.
it's not.
That's what guys choose.
No.
So
You
all
are
the men
a
that
You're on a
want-
panel with
A woman who's
okay.
largely, you know,
You're a
would be
chooch.
conventionally unattractive, who
This
doesn't
is
have
a
children.
window
but
into
a-
your
a
mind.
Brilliant
Your
surgeon.
shitty, childish,
a lot of
misogynistic
value.
mind.
Leo,
That's
name
misogyny.
5 female virgins.
Christ, Melody.
Wait a second.
You're already
What is
dead.
misogyny,
Relax.
Mr. Psychologist? Are you a clinical psychologist or are you a forensic psychologist? Which one do you?
Neither.
Neither.
No.
What are what?
I'm an experimental psychologist.
Okay, so what do you mean by I'm a misogynist? What is that? What's defined misogyny?
Say again what the
Can
value
you-
of a woman is.
You just accused me of being a misogynist. Can you define that so I'm sure to be
I can't.
accused of
You're treating
exactly?
women as objects. Do you not see that?
That's not misogyny.
I know it's prejudice against. It's an
What
inherent
is it?
prejudice against women.
Matu, psychologist, come on, tell me what it is. Or is it just something you heard on TV?
I mean, I think it'd be kind of cool if the guy saying that you don't have any arguments, you're just saying things without substantiating things, would define the words he's using in the discussion. That'd be real hell and cool.
It's funny how everybody. I'm sorry, I'm doing the same thing. I'm not even gonna say it.
Come on, man. There's Google. Anyways, you see what I'm saying? We're following, and I do this too. Listen, you're not the only
Hold
one.
on a second, man. I was waiting
I
for
catch
everybody to be
myself
quiet so I can answer
Okay,
your
go ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Melody.
Goodness. A misogynist is a man who devalues a woman for their indelible natures.
Misogynist
Indelible
hates women.
qualities, I should say.
I do not hate women.
No,
I
that's
didn't
not
say
true.
hate.
Hate is not a word which is used.
I said devalue.
Anyways, I'm just saying here's some things to look at. If you're happy with
Hold on a
the,
second.
if you're happy
You
with
just
the
asked me
state
to
of the
give you a
family-
definition, and I did. And now you're completely changing the topic of conversation. For those of you watching, I'm
No, I
I'm
just
done
said I'm
talking to you,
leaving.
son. For
And
those
then
of you
took 10
watching,
seconds to give
please
your definition.
recognize how dishonest
He's
these
saving you.
tactics are, how bad faith of an actor his arguments are,
Oh my
and how
goodness.
childish and short-sighted his strategy is.
Nice ad
This is
hominem.
painful.
Yeah.
You've got a
Yeah,
face.
it is an ad hominem.
you
Yeah,
got
it
It's
is.
not an
you got
ad
a
hominem
voice for
fallacy.
radio
I'm
and a
not
face
saying
for
that he should
TV.
be
It's a good combo.
dismissed because of these shitty arguments. Right? I'm just saying he's making shitty arguments.
Well, whether you're right or wrong, you sound very authoritative. That's cool.
Exactly.
Does that
Prosper.
scare you, kid?
No. No.
Enough to mention it.
What's that? The way he sounds authoritative?
You,
Yeah.
I never.
I'm glad that you recognize that.
You see it
the
right, but
effort
you
put
see it
into
as
it.
right. I've heard Marty speak for a long time. I've been watching Marty possibly 6-7 years from before. I was very privileged to get to meet Marty. In my opinion, I have a lot of respect for the man. I have been listening to his content for 6 and 7 years. I would consider Marty to speak with confidence. The fact to me that you describe it with authority. And I know he's a teacher and he has to do that when he's speaking to students and all, but you're a man of the exact same age, of the exact same upbringing and culture in America and all the rest of it. And I don't want to say that you just simped to Marty, but you might have.
It does sound like
You might have beat it a wee bit.
Out of curiosity, what do his balls taste like?
A little salty after he goes to the gym, but you know.
Ugh. Why am I even on stream? I'm sick.
I have no idea. We will be rounding it up soon. Gur will be going live, and if everybody just attacks Gur's stream, he doesn't want to have an after party, but you can all just make it an after party if you just join.
I think
And
Skylar's live right now in between too. If you want to pop over to Skylar's.
there you go.
Skylar was in here a little bit ago. Yeah.
Okay, do you have a channel?
Linked in the description.
Yeah, there's a
Right.
YouTube channel. So Marty, here's what I was trying to say about your authoritative thing. I don't think you need, if you're talking about something that's just, bam, you really have a concern or something, you don't have to sound authoritative or anything. And I think you're robbing yourself maybe of some
I
points
think
I've
that you're
made
talking about
by
the process
judging.
instead of the content because
I'm
you have
talking, I
nothing to
can't talk
contribute
if
to the
you're talking.
content.
I can't talk
I
while
know.
you're talking. I
You
can't think
talking about
anything.
the way that I
But I
talk
can't
is
even
not
talk.
an argument.
I can't
The
talk while
content
you're
was ad
talking.
You
hominem.
talking about the way that I talk is not an argument.
Yeah, it's. I'm just saying.
I
My
know.
goodness, man.
I understand.
Quit judging
Condescension.
me, diagnose me. You
people
don't know me
who are
long enough.
insecure
You haven't
perceive
even spent enough
confidence
time.
as.
You haven't
You're
spent enough time with me
perceiving
One at a time, boys.
to
condescension.
diagnose.
Thank you, Bree.
You might be cutting yourself short. You can't diagnose somebody in a 10-minute conversation and then start making all of these judgments that when you don't know.
I understand. Condescension
He's
is
that
how
smart.
people
He
with
probably
low
does.
self-esteem perceive
Alright.
confidence. I get it.
Okay. All right, guys. Anything else before I take off? Nice meeting y'all.
No, that's
Nice
it.
meeting you,
As I can
Gayest
say,
fucking measuring
if everyone,
contest I've ever seen.
pardon,
What's that?
I said this was the gayest fucking dick measuring contest I've ever seen.
you only here for a third of it, man.
Yeah, that's because you're Catholic and you don't go on YouPorn Tube or whatever it's called. Pornhub. Pornhub. Go to Pornhub.
Catholics love Pornhub.
Check it.
right,
yeah, no,
guys.
actually.
Kid,
You might be right.
Kid, you're always welcome to come back. We do this every Saturday, multiple different topics.
Cool.
Now that everybody knows you, we get a view, we get a background. Your input, regardless of what it is always welcome.
All right, appreciate that. Same. Take care.
Thank
It's
you.
fun arguing with you. Mhm.
Flow State, we're going to go to you next. We're going to work around that room. So what would you like to say? Have you any comments or anything you would like to add?
Oh, I don't think so. I think I just blurted all of them out in the moment.
Passion, non-thinking, and people speaking their mind like it comes to them gives a true representation of who the person is. And I think we all realised that the night when, yeah. So if you've nothing to shill or do anything, we move on to Simos then. Simos, Girth.
I'm just doing something right now. I'll be ready in a minute.
Okay, Leo, come back as he's down to talk. Go, Leo.
What?
Shill yourself.
What am I supposed to say?
I don't know. Do you know yourself? Do you do streams?
Show
Would you
your
like to
content.
tell?
Leo produces content about science and about physics mostly. He likes astronomy, all kinds of good stuff. He has interactions with a lot of young Earth creationist type people, and I think you've engaged with some flat earthers too, haven't you?
He has also a secret
Unfortunately.
crush on Kent Hovind.
Yeah.
Bree, go on ahead. Give us a shout out.
Okay.
Give us a shill.
Just to make it clear, I was engaging tonight as something of an interlocutor and not a moderator. If I was a moderator, I would behave much differently. So,
Are you applying or something?
what's that?
She's
Are
making
you
a
applying for a moderator position?
no private joke. She's private joke making a dig at me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm teasing Robbie. Anyway, so yeah, I'm Bree. I'm from Hive Science, and I have a show every Saturday morning at 9:30. We talk about conspiracy theories and cryptozoology, aliens, things like that. We also engage a little bit in the young Earth creationist and flat Earth ideas, like what I was talking about Leo being into. So we have some overlap there. If you like that kind of stuff, certainly feel free to pop over to the Hive Science YouTube channel and give me a subscription.
I cannot remember your trigger for the bot.
Don't subscribe to my channel unless you want to become an evil, disgusting, terrible Marxist.
Next, we will go Midnight. Have you anything you would like to shill, talk about, or do?
I mean, I really don't have anything to shill. I do find, I do find that the guy was very interesting. Question mark. I will say that. I, I don't know. It was definitely weird listening to him and then coming in. Mounty, Mounty got a real good shot at him, and I was like, God damn, bro, he's already dead. Relax. You know, it's like, okay, well, men are more allergic to women. Okay, what the fuck does that mean? Like,
Look up the Big Five personality test and the statistics associated with agreeableness.
Talk to me more about psychology.
well, I mean,
Well, I gotta give Flow State props there. At least he's given a citation of what research he's looking into, and not just saying Google it. That's a step up.
That's a step up.
Yeah, shout out to Flow State. Flow State's been around for a good while too. Fucking Gur's streams was like, who the fuck's Flow State? I don't even know this guy. And he's like, and you run a YouTube channel in this community? Do you even YouTube?
I really like his name though, Flow State.
Well, it kept it from being a dog pile too, so I appreciate it, Flo.
Yeah, no,
I do what I can.
Oh, who let the troublemaker in?
There he is.
Gur, have you got the after party stream? Like,
No, I just came to say the stream can start now. Now that I'm here.
No, it could end.
And hey, I didn't realize we were shilling when you asked what I had to say. I thought we were still talking about the topic. So yeah, I've got a YouTube channel. It's called Flow State. And I'll drop a comment or something with a link.
Yeah.
It's about all sorts of shit.
I would drop a link, but someone took my wrench away.
No, someone didn't take your wrench
I wonder
away.
who did that.
You never fucking had one. You had one for
I
1
did
minute.
have a wrench. I
For
had a
1
wrench
minute,
for a week.
once.
For like a week.
For like a minute.
And
Stop.
then you did give me a wrench again, but that was just because I said.
No,
this
I
was
give you a
1 second.
bot
I don't
command.
remember what it was.
All right, I give you a bot command. You're allowed to. The only thing you can do is post your link. That's it. Which is more than, by the way, I get in your chat. Because number one, you're too stupid to run a bot.
What is my bot command?
I can't fucking find it. I've looked twice, and I don't know what I've
Did you
made.
just make a new one?
No, I've probably made some sex joke with Bree's link or something. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of sex jokes in the bot. You need to watch out. Don't.
Pigbot is a.
Pigbot's cakey. Does fisting. Does
Pig
slapping.
bot is a pig bot.
Yeah.
Right.
Swine bot.
Okay,
Yeah.
Flow State's done the shell. Simos has done the shell. Everyone's done. Midnight's done the shell. Shall we move on to Mouty? Mouty, give us a shell.
I'd like to introduce the brand new show that Leo and I are going to be co-hosting. It's called I Dare You. Pretty much any topic is open game to be shot the fuck down. So Leo is hearing this for the first time, so we haven't quite worked out the details, but you know, that's something to look forward to. On top of that, lemon bars can go fuck themselves, and strawberry shortcake is the best.
Did Simos not get a chance? Hold on, I just want to make sure. Did we not? I posted Simos's link, and I thought Simos got a chance to shield. Did Simos not?
I haven't actually shielded yet. No.
Oh no, I went to you and you skipped yourself. Simos.
Yeah.
Go on ahead.
Simos.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, look, I just think it's like this. I want to thank Flow State and Sergeant Jim for having a debate. You can't have a debate unless there's another side, right? And so, yeah, I think we got to do better. That's all I'm saying. And getting into the meta on conversation is always pretty boring. Sometimes there's no way around it, but that's how that goes. Sometimes you just got to go there because that's what's there. You're being dragged there. Sometimes not. But I don't think if we're going to keep on hashing out the same meta every time we have a conversation, then obviously debates are just going to be too boring for me to participate in anyway. Other than that, obviously, I don't give a shit about shilling my channel. I want to say a special big thanks to Sergeant Slim Jim. It's good to have him around. Again, without somebody that's willing to take the opposition side, you can't have a good debate. And every time I've been on the other side of a debate with Jim, I've had a good time. So I just want to say that.
Yeah.
And
I
thanks
am
very
a
much.
good time. You're right about
Yeah.
that.
Jill's
Jim, are
mum
you
will
outside?
also
I've
agree.
heard the rumours.
Just to point out, Jill's mum will also agree. Sergeant Slim Jim is a good time.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, hold on a second. Random question, Jim. Slim Jim? Are you outside?
No,
Oh man, it really looks like you are. I'm sorry.
I
Which
well,
I
there's
would
a
have given
fan-
you like 3 points for. Like, fuck yeah, broadcasting outside.
No, I'm actually in an unfinished basement, which is why I have the sheet behind me, because otherwise it looks like I reside in a sex dungeon, which is
What's
probably
wrong with that?
Totally makes sense.
The fuck?
It's very Catholic.
Have you seen Bree After Dark?
Let me just say that.
Jesus.
Has everybody got a chance to shill
No shit, my
except for
basement
Gur?
looks like I'm about to go drag the gimp from Pulp Fiction out of the corner.
Has everybody
Let's
got
do
a
the
chance
ball
to
game.
shill but Gur?
Hey, let's go to Slim Jim's. That's a party.
So, yep, I am Sergeant Slim Jim. I renamed my channel Neon Prayers with Sergeant Slim Jim. So if you want to look for me, do that.
What is it called now? Sorry, I missed the start of that.
Neon Prayers with Sergeant Slim Jim. I recite Catholic prayers and I set them to kind of retro, futuristic, you know, like the Outrun synthwave style.
I have seen
graphics
that.
music. I also have a couple interviews. I interviewed YouTuber and Twitch streamer Shady Paradox. I'm editing one right now with musician, author David Stewart. I got the Middle Earth mixer that's also in the production bin. So those will be hopefully dropping sometime before Christmas. But because I have got 2 jobs, 6 kids, and 1 wife, I'm a very busy man, and editing is really low on the priority list.
Join and do live streams. A lot easier. Yeah, and shout out to everybody who's come by tonight. I think we topped out at about 45, 46 people watching and stuff. It's good to get a good debate going. It's good to get, as Simos pointed out, people from both sides. I try to do a fair thing. I try to make sure that everybody gets a voice. And yeah, with the exception of Leo, nobody else talks more than me. And I try to maintain order. Oh, look, Bree's jealous. She's like, I fucking talk more than Leo. Thanks everybody for watching.
I did tonight. I was
a wee
I was
bit,
on
just
tonight. It was a passionate topic for me.
You felt you were feisty. You were feisty. Gur's jealous.
You're far behind Leo. Leo just was lapping you though.
Yeah, that's Leo does that.
Watch like 3 Saturdays ago. Leo shut me down like that much on my own channel. I swear to fuck, people paid to get him off the panel. Like it was that man talking too much. Think for yourselves, people. Be independent. Always ask questions. Bumper stickers. We all love lemon. We all love fucking strawberry cheesecake. And yeah.
It's
So
not a
what
cult.
about
It's
lemon
a way
parties?
of life.
I am not losing the costume contest. That will be happening on Sunday next week, the end of the month. If anyone is up for watching 420 Brojo, they're having a costume contest. I am involved. Pixie, the only reason you're going to win is because you're coming as, what is it? Fucking Tinkleberry or some fucking, what do you call that?
Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell, yes. The only woman on the panel is coming dressed as Tinkerbell, right? Of course you're going to win the fucking vote, right? But that's not fair.
The
There's a
fuck
costume
is
contest?
Tinkleberry?
I love a costume.
Dingleberry?
Oh, no, Bree. I was going to invite you if there was any chance that I wouldn't come first because I would let you come first. But I've now got 4 welding masks, and
Somebody clip that last 5 seconds.
Yeah, right?
okay, we're going to end this shit before it gets out of control. Me and
Somebody
Tinkleberry.
clip that last 5 seconds.
Me and Tinkleberry is getting the fuck out of here. Everybody, remember, sub to all the links. Kids is in the chat, type of thing. You'll get Marty, you know Sergeant Slim Jim. Everybody, sub to us all. All right. The more people get to talk, the more opinions we have on stream, the more of a true representation of the human race we get. Go maybe possibly to Gers after this. The cunt may be having an after party. And with that, I will shout out. And
Oh, bitch ass better be.
fucking better be. Shout out to everybody. Thank you all.